Welcome back. It's the Big Blue Banter, New York Giants football podcast. I'm Dan Schneier, joined as always my co-host Nick Filato, and F it, we're doing it live. Well, not quite yet. The plan is eventually to get live with these video/podcasts. You might be listening to this normal podcast form, or hopefully you're one of the few, the proud, the many, as I once said, who have asked us to break these plays down online on video and have actually taken the time to go join our YouTube page. Go to YouTube, type in Big Blue Banter, and that's where you'll find us, and that's where you'll find this breakdown. And I must say, man, after watching the first one, we did it live. I mean, we didn't have any plan. We just kind of ripped through it, no takes, no editing. And I thought it sounded pretty good. I thought it looked pretty damn good. And I think there is a ton of value to doing these breakdowns of the All-22 film with an actual video component to them. So please, if you enjoy this podcast, if you take the time to download, which is all we need, that's what helps us grow as a podcast and helps us get paid, to be completely honest, please help us out in the other way and go to the YouTube page, subscribe to Big Blue Banter. You'll see our logo and hit like on every video. You don't have to watch them all the way through, but I think you want to if you like the film stuff, because to me, this is going to be better. And we're going to do it again here. So we'll dive into the All-22 defensive film of the Giants' Week 4 win over the Bears. The defense film, more fun than the offense. Let's be a little honest about that one. I mean, look, it's okay. We can be honest about this Giants offense right now. It's the best running attack in football. I think it's number one right now, but they don't throw the ball very well. So it's not the most fun, but on defense, it's the total opposite, man. This dude blitzes. I mean, Wink Martindale, I saw a stat today, Nick, before the podcast. The Giants have this, I think it was either the second or the highest blitz rate of any team in the NFL right now through 4 weeks. Now, part of that is they got to face Justin Fields and they got to face Baker Mayfield. Two quarterbacks you want to blitz early and often. They're terrible at football. But at least right now for Fields. I still have some hope for Fields, none for Baker. But having said that, I think it's also part of who he is. We've always heard this dude wants to dictate to these quarterbacks, and he's going to. And at times, like you can see on the film, we'll go over it here, Nick, and I'm curious to get your take. There are times where these blitzes don't get home. There was one the screen where they threw to Komet. That was a blitz gone wrong. Perfect call. And there were other times where receivers were running open, which we're going to get to, where Fields just didn't process it and see it. That's not going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. But it's fun as hell to watch a defense this aggressive, man. So I'd say we always like to start these things off before diving into the film with our biggest takeaway or something we learned from watching the film that we didn't maybe see the first time around. And for me, it would be just absolute night and day, massive improvement from the second level linebackers for the Giants. Tay Crowder with his best game ever as a Giant. Now, there are two plays that we might go over as we look through this that he didn't do a good job on, but that is so many fewer plays than what we're used to with Tay. And he had and throw those out because he had so many really good plays. And then Jalen Smith versus an Austin Calitro, that you can't even describe what it looks like on film versus watching. So for me, biggest takeaway was so much improvement already at the second level.
A ton of improvement. And how motivating is that? Because we went into this season, right? The two biggest concerns that we had with this New York Giants defense, with a significant, I would say, upgrade at certain positions and just in terms of development and the edge rushers when they are healthy. But it was cornerback 2, which still remains to be a question mark, albeit I believe Moreau played pretty well, but Aaron Robinson is now placed on the IR. And the next one was the linebacker position. And then we found out Blake Martinez was released, and we're like, oh, crap, what the heck are we going to do here? But you're right, man. We're going to go through a bunch of these plays. Tae Crowder played really damn well in this game. And I also just feel like the upgrade from Jalen Smith to the Austin Calitros and even the Micah Mcfaddens right now. Micah Mcfadden is a player that I like. Jalen Smith offers something different. He is quick. He is instinctive. And he really has acceleration and burst to come downhill and make tackles. And I feel like he's not a liability in coverage. He knows where to be, when to be there. And we didn't really see it too much in this game with Jalen Smith specifically. We did on one of the blitzes that we're going to go over. But I do think he can be a big factor in Wink Martindale's blitzing attack. And dude, Wink Martindale he's a guy, man, because we talked a lot about all season the ways he's been able to pressure these quarterbacks. But in this game, we saw that double A gap linebacker twist with the adjacent quarterback spy and a quarterback contain. And that quarterback contain was Dexter Lawrence, who was occupying the center pre-snap, and that allowed for both of those linebackers to twist inside and isolate 2 versus 1 against the 6-man of protection, Khalil Herbert, and it led to, I think, 2 sacks and then a pressure on a 3rd and 3 where Justin Fields had to throw the football away, where Tae Crowder, Micah Mcfadden, and Jalen Smith, who were all involved on separate plays, executed that assignment with great timing, and it worked to perfection, exactly like they wanted to. And then one of those sacks that the Giants got out of the 6 sacks was on that play. And what happens if you don't get home against Khalil Herbert, Dan, is you flush Justin Fields to his right. And what do you have waiting there for him? You have Dexter Lawrence in contain, and you had Azeez Ojulari as a quarterback spy, and it resulted in a sack. So I love to see good scheming from a coaching staff actually come to fruition, and stats are earned based on that. And that's something that we've seen from Wink Martindale through 3 of the 4 games. I feel like he was out schemed a little bit by Kellen Moore. That's going to happen sometimes. But this game plan against an inexperienced quarterback, got to be fair here, an inexperienced quarterback, definitely a quarterback that is not comfortable in Luke Getsy's system, definitely a situation that is a little bit unstable. But those are the situations that you need to take advantage of as a coach. And Wink Martindale did very easily.
Yeah, it's so interesting watching how uncomfortable the quarterback was within that system, because it's like, I wonder, man, if you had, let's say Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka had Justin Fields and designed a pretty similar offense to the one they designed for Daniel Jones right now. I'm not saying Justin Fields would be doing better than Daniel Jones is currently doing in the system. I'm not making that case at all, so don't put words in my mouth if you're listening. But I'm saying this, Justin Fields would look a whole lot better to me than he does right now. And that's a testament to the Giants coaching. If you asked Justin Fields to execute the game plan Daniel Jones executed, don't you think, Nick, that Justin Fields could have executed that game plan pretty well?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And to your point too, Luke Getsy, and we brought this up, but he is a branch off the Nathaniel Hackett tree. We see this weird adjustment period for future Hall of Famer Russell Wilson. So Justin Fields
Rodgers had the adjustment period.
Rodgers had the there is an adjustment period with this type of offense. It's a very rhythmic type of offense. And Justin Fields isn't a rhythmic type of player right now. So that marriage is very, very awkward. They have to do a better job just utilizing this kid's God-given ability and this kid's ability to get out of the pocket the way Mike Kafka is doing with Daniel Jones. And that also is just a testament to the coordinators and Brian Daboll and their flexibility, because it seems like Luke Getsy and whatever's going on in Chicago is just a little bit more rigid, where they're trying to fit square pegs into round holes instead of optimizing their players.
And it's not uncommon for new systems to take time for these players to get used to, which makes it so uncommon that the Giants on both sides of the ball have been able to install new systems and have these players pick them up like this. I mean, obviously on the offensive side of the ball, we still have receivers at times running wrong routes. It's not like it's been the smoothest sailing possible, but we're generating offense right now, and we're generating defense, albeit with, I don't know, person. Like across the league, the Giants don't really have unbelievable personnel on offense, unbelievable personnel on defense. So just another testament to the coaching. And like you said, I'm happy that it actually paid off in the stat sheet this game for the Giants defense. 18 pressures and 6 sacks for the Giants defense. Those are hefty, hefty numbers. And I think 3 turnovers was that they still don't have an interception. They're the only team in the NFL without an interception. I know one of those fumbles is on a punt return, but still, the Giants have done an excellent job getting home. In this game, they did an excellent job, not only getting the pressures, but then getting home and turning them into sacks or blown plays. So it was awesome to see this defense. We're going to break it all down now. But before we break it down, Nick, let's dive a little bit into just some stats. So the Giants used man coverage on 51.7% of snaps in this game. They used zone coverage on 48.3%. Comparatively, the Bears used with man coverage on 49.3% of plays. So it's a pretty heavy man coverage game in general. The Giants ran, and these are, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then they ran, you said the Bears ran man coverage 49.3% of the time, but they ran man coverage without a spy 49.2% of the time.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that was the great point you made earlier about how the Giants did account for Justin Fields' ability to ruin this game with his legs. And he still got some runs, and I mean, he's the type of quarterback who will, but the Bears did not for Daniel Jones. That was pretty much the difference here in the game. If you look at it, Jones's rushing ability, and obviously Barkley, versus Herbert. But these are all stats according to PFF, by the way, Nick. So, I mean, it is what it is, but we can trust their charting, hopefully. They ran cover 3, which you even mentioned earlier that they're running a lot of cover 3. And it was obvious on tape. Like, you can watch the Giants, that 3 high look. They ran cover 3 on 24 of 60 snaps. That was the second most. Obviously, the most was they ran cover 1 on 29 snaps. And just break down real quick. I know we've done it a bunch, but in case there's new listeners, break down the difference between cover 3 and cover 1, how it looks before the snap.
Well, cover 3 is zone-based coverage. Cover 1 is a man coverage. So typically before the snap, the man covering defenders will be directly over top of the receivers that are their assignments, executing the leverage that the defensive coordinator asked them to do, whether that be inside, off, press, or outside. And in terms of cover 3, that's a zone coverage. But you have like country cover 3, like spot drop cover 3, which is just like what you think of in Madden, where like a linebacker just drops to the middle hook and sits in a spot. Then you also have cover 3 match, which is essentially once the routes are distributed once the routes are distributed by the offense, once those wide receivers commit to their route, you basically just stick to them if you're a defender, and it essentially just turns into man coverage. But there are rules built into that, and it gets very, very complex. And I don't even know all of the rules to all these different defenses. There's a bunch of different adjustments that you can make versus 2x2, 3x1, but they will look different. A cover 3 just drop zone as opposed to just a cover 3 match. And I feel like Wink Martindale does a good job utilizing both of those principles.
Great breakdown. They also have us charted for cover 0 on 2 snaps. Every time the cover 2-0 charting, I feel like is a little off, but we'll go over that. Maybe you can shed some light on that. Cover 6 for 2 snaps. And then they have quarters coverage for 0 snaps, and 2-man, which used to be like a big deal in the NFL, and that's 0 snaps. That teams are just phasing out 2-man coverage.
Yeah, that's 2 over the top, taking deep halves with man coverage underneath. Quarters, that is like a cover 4, could be quarters, but that's like more of what you would think zone is. Right. Whereas quarters, palms, those are all like 2 read type of coverages that end up essentially turning into man coverage, similar to what I was saying with the cover 3 match.
Yep. Okay, so we'll get into some more stats, and then we'll dive into the tape with the first drive. Some more stats. The Giants had 6 missed tackles total, not a huge number. 3 passes batted, or 3 PBRs, passes pass defense, and then 3 forced fumbles in this game. Or at least that's how.
No Miller Lights, no
PBRs, no Miller Lights, no high lifes. What was the one? The Michelobs. No Michelob. So
Mickey's.
Yeah. So these are the stats for the breakdown for the game. The Giants, once again, I don't have the exact stats in front of me. This is my bad. Once again, we're unbelievable on third downs and unbelievable in the red zone defense. This has literally been the defining reason the Giants are 3-1, in my opinion. If you ask me for 2 stats, if you ask me for like 5 things, 1 would be the name Saquon Barkley, 2 would be the name Mike Kafka, another would be the name Wink Martindale, and the 2 others would be their third down defense and their red zone defense, because those 2 things have been absolutely phenomenal all year. And once again, we're phenomenal again. I mean, if you look at just the drive chart of this, Nick, the Bears pretty much matched the Giants as far as good drives went. They had 4 good drives in this game. The Giants had 4 good drives in their game. The Bears had a drive of 77 yards, 65, 53, 58. The Giants had a drive of 75, 75, 60, and 54. Pretty similar. The difference is the Giants cashed theirs in for touchdowns, and the Bears did the old Joe Judge try, and they kicked a lot of field goals, and that's not by design, but they were bottled down. I mean, I thought it was really weird. We'll get into it, but their one red zone play on third down where they didn't trust Fields to even throw the ball, they ran the ball, and it wasn't even an advantageous box. I didn't think it was like, oh, he checked the audible into the run and he saw something, and we'll go over that, but. The other play that Fields threw in the red zone, there was nothing open, and he threw it towards the back pylon. So really great red zone defense by the Giants. Such a defining trait of this Wink Martindale defense so far. Third down defense and red zone defense.
Yeah, they've been phenomenal in those areas other than the Dallas game.
Yeah.
And the Giants in this game, third down efficiency, they were just 5 for 15. So a lot of the third downs that were picked up, I think almost all of them, except for maybe 1, was by Justin Fields' legs. And conversely, like we brought up on the Quick Reaction podcast, similar to what the New York Giants were doing, a lot of what the Giants were doing was picking up first downs with their legs. These 2 teams are very similar. I just think the coaching edge that the Giants have give them such an advantage over a team like the Chicago Bears. That, and I feel like the Giants have just an elite playmaker on offense with Saquon Barkley, whereas the Chicago Bears on offense, they don't really have anybody. I think Darnell Mooney he's a nice number 2 wide receiver. I think he'd be a solid number 2 wide receiver, but definitely not a 1. You can even argue maybe he'd be like a 3 on a really good football team. So that's what they're working with their offense. And like we brought up a little bit earlier, there's definitely things that are off there. And I don't know how long this Justin Fields, Luke Getsy situation is going to last.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And we'll get to it, but Fields, he's not comfortable in this offense right now, and he missed 2 huge plays that could have been changing this entire game, just missing the read on. One of them was what we've seen from our quarterback, just bailing a little bit too early from a pocket that didn't need bailing from, which we'll show you on the film. But let's dive into this tape now. Let's start with the first drive. There's a lot of good plays to talk about on the first drive, and people were saying go full screen. Is this the full screen that we can get, or maybe there's another option? I don't know.
No, this is full screen.
Okay, this is full, and this is pretty good. This is solid full screen. I'll take it. You guys can obviously see.
Hold on one second. Let's see if we do that.
Yeah, now we got the real full screen.
Yeah, we don't have to
Nobody
see
needs to see my face. Maybe they want to see your face. You're a better looking dude, but nobody needs to see these mugs. Let's take a look at the actual film. And we start off here with an excellent play by Tae Crowder and Dexter Lawrence, who ultimately, ironically speaking, or I guess not ironically, but since this was the first play, it's interesting, ended up being the two best players on defense, I thought, in this game, which was a little bit of a spoiler for superlatives, but great opening play by those two guys.
And this is not the opening play right here. This is
Okay.
going to be the opening play. That was the 2nd and 8 that we'll go over in a little bit because it was an 18-yard completion against cover 3 to Darnell Mooney. But here is the opening play for those who are watching on YouTube. Look at Chicago's formation, man. This is some very condensed type of stuff right here. But I want everybody to pay attention to Tay Crowder, because what ends up happening here with this very condensed formation, Chicago just attempts to run the football, and Dexter Lawrence and Tay Crowder stuff this run. But watch Tay Crowder specifically, because you have all of these extra gaps created right here. There is a lot to account for, and the Giants don't necessarily match it. Look, the Giants have 2 guys still on the weak side here. But watch Tay Crowder. You have the double team on Justin Ellis. You have Julian Love, who's up on the line of scrimmage getting blocked by Cole Kmet. Watch how Tay Crowder goes and he fills this gap and puts himself in this gap, and that allows 76 Tevin Jenkins to come off the double team, but it also shows Khalil Herbert, look, I have a presence here. You can't go here or you're going to get tackled. Right. So Khalil Herbert tries to cut it inside. Tay Crowder works right back to the inside and makes his tackle. This is like elite level linebacker type of play. Obviously, Tay Crowder is not an elite level linebacker, but that is a very, very smart and savvy play from Tay Crowder right there.
It really is. And I think that's fair. I don't think there's any hyperbole behind that. That's exactly what you want. You look, he takes away the gap and still finds a way to work back to where the actual play is run to. That's actually, like, if he could do this every play, he would be somebody who we can look at as like the long-term starter here and an absolute steal. Now, the consistency hasn't been there in his career. I feel like this was by far and away his best game. I'm sure there were others I don't remember that were maybe close or somewhat similar, but maybe not all there. But this was a good start for him, and it ended up being a really great game for Tay Crowder. And obviously, Dexter Lawrence, it's like, that's a whole, we can have this discussion at some point today. Let's move through the film. But Dexter Lawrence had what I thought was also the best game of his career.
Yes, he definitely did. But I just want to bring up the battle, if we want to call it that, between Dexter Lawrence and Sam Mustipher, their center. Like right here, Dexter Lawrence gets, poor guy, he gets washed inside right here initially. And watch how Lawrence is like, okay, this is actually going backwards. He's like up in the air. His feet are not set on the ground.
Yeah.
But yet he's still able to replant his feet and then get to the half man and play right through the open hole right there. So quick, so athletic, and he's 350 freaking pounds, Dan. It's just, he's something special, man. I'm telling you.
And I want to say one thing, and please, hopefully nobody takes this as like a negative. I hope people understand this is context. This is going to be the worst offensive line the Giants match up against in the entire season, specifically because they lost Cody Whitehair in this game. Their only good offensive lineman at the left guard position. What that created was Mustipher, who's horrifically bad, and a backup next to him. And that was just on what was already a bad line. Like, Tevin Jenkins is okay, I guess. Like, he's playing better. They were going to trade him. Now he's at least playing for them, mostly out of necessity. But part of the reason why these guys had such good games, and it's okay to admit, is because it was a bad O-line, but it doesn't matter. You still have to go out there. Like, Dexter Lawrence played 94% of the snaps and had the most single game pressures in a single game of anyone of his size. Like, that deserves to be commended, even with the matchupping. And look, we want these guys to take advantage of good matchups, right? Like, that's the objective here. So I just want to point that out, but also kudos to the Giants. Here's the big play we just referenced after that. It was a really good play, I thought, by Fields against a cover 3 look here.
Yeah, this was a great play by Justin Fields. It's a play action, but Khalil Herbert just goes right into protection. And you can see Darnell Mooney does a good job finding the soft spot between the two underneath defenders who are in middle hook zones. And you have outside leverage because he is in a cover 3 deep third. So look at the spacing. Then here's the middle of the field closed safety. You can see there's just a wide open space, triangle, and Darnell Mooney finds that soft spot, just curls right into it. Nice little pitch and catch for the Bears.
Yeah, and that's a really good way to attack that cover 3 right there. So the Bears found, like Luke Getsy, we got on him a bit at times, Nick. We've gotten on him, and we do think Wink won this battle. But when I went back and watched the tape, I actually thought Luke Getsy had some really good calls in this game and some good route combinations to get receivers open. So it may not be the best system fit for Fields with where he's at, but we'll work through it and we'll talk those plays out. But yeah, let's get through this play where we're at now.
This is just Justin Fields using his athletic ability, and the Giants don't do a good job containing him. He ends up picking up 16 yards on the ground here. But I do want to point out just the coverage. The Giants, this is cover one right here. And look how good the coverage is. There's really nowhere to go with the football. You could have dumped it off here, but Micah Mcfadden works through that traffic. You can see Cole Kmet coming out of his break. He has a guy right on his hip. You have two guys surrounding this tight end. You have the dig route where there's some space, but there's still the Dory Jackson can play right through that. Xavier McKinney's right here. There's just really nowhere for him to go. So taking off with his feet here is probably the best course of action for Justin Fields. And he did this a couple times throughout the first half, but I felt like the Giants did a much better job kind of bottling him up in the second half.
Yeah, that was a great breakdown. And I think, I've seen I posted one of the plays, which we'll get to at some point, where Fields kind of misses an open Mooney for a touchdown. And, a Bears fan texted me like, if you listen to the presser, Fields talks about how the coaches kind of coached him up to run with the ball in these situations. So I think he might be getting a little bit of the same coaching Jones is getting as far as like taking off and running out of potentially muddy pockets.
What I will say too, that's a 3rd and 9, I think it was. So he has to make the decision to run. He can't really be overly hesitant. And he diagnosed it was man cover, saw there was no contain, and then he just took off. So in his defense, if he's going to take off, you got to be decisive about taking off. But I guess he wasn't really reading what the safeties were doing. And I think McKinney was opened up towards Darnell Mooney at that time. And then for whatever reason, McKinney flipped his hips and then went towards the sideline. And by that time, Justin Fields kind of already was like, okay, I'm going to run this football. And he ended up picking up the first down.
Yep, and we'll go over that play when it comes, and we'll be able to show you that play as well. What's the next play you teed up here, Nick?
Yeah, so this is just a 1st and 10 play, and the Giants are in too high here, but I just wanted to point out Azeez Ojulari here avoiding the contact on this split zone right here to get into Khalil Herbert's way. Look, it's going right at the knees. It's totally legal type of block, but then Azeez Ojulari is able to actually collect himself and wrap Khalil Herbert up for a tackle here. So I just kind of wanted to acknowledge this play by Azeez Ojulari, who I feel like as Giant fans, we don't talk about as much now that Kayvon Thibodeau is in the building, but he played one heck of a game here, and he had some elite bend on that strip sack fumble that we'll show.
Yeah, we will. And that's similar to the play Kayvon Thibodeau got hurt on in the preseason as far as the block. I know it's legal, Nick, but I hate this block. I hate cut blocks, and I hate these blocks in the NFL. I'm just like, I don't love like the idea of you just get to dive at the dude's knees, and like that's part of the game. But anyway, he did a great job, like you said, of avoiding it, and at the same time avoiding an injury.
Yeah, but that play literally happens
all the time.
All of the time on Sunday. So I wanted to bring up this because the pass rush really gets to Justin Fields, and this is a 3rd and 2. And we'll look at the sidelines. I think Mooney might be open a little bit late here, but let's focus on Azeez Ojulari, Dexter Lawrence, and Kayvon Thibodeau, who all almost get home. And this is what Justin Fields can offer you. He might not be fully there yet in terms of reading defenses and things like that, but he is a great athlete, and you can see how he evades blockers and then picks up a couple yards here. I'm not sure how many he got here, but he ended up getting the first down. But watch Dexter Lawrence here. See how he has positive control of that arm. He's his aiming points are great. He just grabs this elbow and shoves it aside, and then he just quickly, look how quick that is, quickly brings the opposite arm up to rip. And there's nothing Mustipher can do at this point. This is immediate pressure right in your face. And then Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari kind of end up colliding here, but both of them are going high side against tackles, and they're both winning.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Justin Fields kind of being smart here and just kind of rolling out and gaining depth in the pocket to avoid the rush, he's done 3 different ways. So good play by Fields, but excellent pass rush by the New York Giants.
The only way he gets out of that is not like the typical rollout you see where a quarterback, like you've seen it with Jones a bunch, where he tries to roll to his right and it's like that same lateral move. You have to do what Nick just said. You have to gain depth and pivot and spin backwards to gain your depth. So it was just an incredible play by Justin Fields on an amazing pass rush by the Giants. And it's so funny. You keep saying Mustipher had such a bad game for the Bears. He's their center, and Dexter Lawrence destroyed him. Have you seen Clay Harbor? I just wanted to bring this up in case you saw it. Have you seen Clay Harbor, who covers the Bears? Have you seen any of what he's broken down on Twitter with Mustipher?
I have not, no.
Oh man, it's so harsh. He's been ripping Mustipher so hard on Twitter. So check out some of those breakdowns. But yeah, look, Dexter Lawrence destroyed this matchup. He absolutely destroyed this Mustipher, dude. And this is just cool to see, for like Nick said, because you have 3 individual Giants pass rushers winning on 1 rep. Thibodeau wins his rep, Ojulari wins his rep, and Lawrence wins his rep. That is really good sign. When's the last time you can remember the Giants having 3 pass rushers get home like this on a rep and a quick game rep? Like, this is 3rd and 2. This is not a 3rd and long situation, which makes it even the more impressive. I can't wait to see these 3 and Leonard Williams on the field at the same time on a 3rd down passing situation.
And you also, there's a mesh concept right here. And it looks like the Giants have man coverage on Darnell Mooney, but they're not playing man on the opposite side of the formation where these two players are. But look at Mooney once Justin Fields evades. Now, in this play, like you said, he's being coached. At least he said he's being coached to keep the football. Like, keep the football, but Mooney does end up coming open there. Like, Mooney does end up coming open. I'm not knocking Justin Fields there because I think you have to just go for the first down when you see the green grass. I think it's a little nitpicky to really, bang him for that. But this is something that we also saw a little bit later on. And, there are quarterbacks who aren't being coached to use their legs in similar type of situations that can make the Giants pay for these broken coverages downfield.
And in general, the quarterbacks who are able to improvise and throw on the run at these broken plays when there's a broken open receiver are typically the best quarterbacks. So it's not like, you might be coached to do it and it's fine to take the green and might be sound nitpicky, but I still don't think it's fully nitpicky, I guess is the best way to describe it. But either way, he got the first. So drive moves on here. Now we get to which play is this one, Nick? This is the next
play, 1st and 10. Very physical edge set by Tomon Fox, who comes into the game at this point, just to give the other two edge rushers a breather. And I feel like he has two really good plays back to back. Watch Tomon Fox here. Sets this edge low, locks out, shades inside, wide open gap for Tay Crowder, who is unblocked, just to come in and wrap up Khalil Herbert. And then the Giants rally and make this tackle. Just felt like this was a good play by the weak side. Well, not the weak side, it's actually the strong side of the Giants formation. You could see Tay Crowder. He looks this way to see if there's going to be a block hitting him, but then he sees the ball's already in Herbert's hands and he just makes this tackle. But I like how Tomon Fox showed that type of physicality there, and you're going to see it here in a little bit, and even a more impressive type of play.
And nice help in support, nice support help there by McKinney as well.
Yeah. So right here, this is just, I believe, an incomplete pass.
This was the red zone pass I was referencing a bit earlier, where there's just, if you look at the other view of this, the sideline view, there's just nowhere for Fields to go with the football.
Yeah, really absolutely.
The Giants.
Yeah, nowhere for Fields to go with the football, just man coverage in the red zone here. And we have Dexter Lawrence, who gets a nice, good hit on Justin Fields towards the end. I would say it's clean, but it's towing the line a little bit. And I think we might have missed a play too. So we're going to go back
run stop,
2 plays and go to the end zone copy. Yeah, this is the play I wanted to go over here. You have I formation from the Chicago Bears, and Tomon Fox is to the weak side of the formation, kind of like a linebacker. So the Giants are in like a 3-4 type of front, and watch Tomon Fox take on that lead blocker and just clog up that lane. That is a physical play by Fox. Right? This is a UDFA rookie who's finding snaps. I think he played 15 snaps in this game. He's finding snaps with a healthy Azeez Ojulari and Kayvon Thibodeau. This is a great play by the rookie, and he keeps playing like this. He's going to find his way onto the field. He aggressively just squeezes this dude right inside. There's nowhere for Khalil Herbert to run. Look at that. That is wildly impressive. You even have Dexter Lawrence, who is just bench pressing with one arm. Sam Musfer, he works back into this opposite gap, which forces Khalil Herbert to go behind his fullback where Fox is waiting. This is great team defense, right?
Yeah, I think even Mondo does a good job there of kind of setting the edge and pushing that blocker out, so he has to cut it back.
Yeah, no, Mondo, 2 games, he looked good. It sucks that he ended up getting injured, but I feel like he's played well. But this is just a good play overall by the New York Giants defense.
Even just watch Dex. Dex does a good job on his play. Just in case Herbert's thinking of cutting back, Dex kind of makes it so it's impossible to on that as well. So great first red zone series by the Giants defense to hold the Bears to 3.
Absolutely. And we'll take it to the second drive here. Dan, you want to go over what this drive is all about?
Yeah, so the Bears get the ball back here. Let's see where we're at in the game now. I think it's 7-3 Giants at this point. And really the Bears' best drives, 3 of their 4 best drives came on their first 3 drives. So just goes to show, when you think of it from that perspective, the Giants did a great job again of adjusting to what the Bears showed and what the Bears won with, and finding a way to bring out something that would match it and beat it. Like the last 3 possessions of the Bears game, last 3 functional possessions before the very end, were 3 and outs by the Bears, 3 straight punts. So this was a really good job by the Giants adjusting, but obviously on this drive, they found some success. This was a 6-play, 77-yard drive that did also result in another field goal for the Bears. So where are we starting this one off? Oh, with the big throw. Okay.
Yeah, it's just the first down play. I just feel like Adoree Jackson kind of gets beat right here. Look, he's an outside leverage, and Darnell Mooney does a good job kind of selling like he's going inside, and then he works right into Adoree Jackson's blind spot, and it just went away, but we'll pull it right back up here in a second. He works right into Adoree Jackson's blind spot there and just kind of gets behind him. And then Xavier McKinney ends up reacting to the deep cross and kind of goes underneath, isolating Adoree Jackson against Darnell Mooney, as you'll see here.
It was a really good, I mean, it's a two-man route combination, but I really like this route combination with the deep over, because the deep cross, deep over, because it takes the safety, at least makes him, like you said, have to respect that a little bit. And so McKinney can't get there in time. And it's also, let's call it like it is, it's a great throw by Justin Fields.
No, it's a great throw by Justin Fields right there. And here we just see Jihad Ward. This is a 1st and 10 play, second play of the drive.
Screen if you can, Nick. If it's doable. Yeah, it looks so much better. Yep.
Watch Jihad Ward right here. This is a pin pull concept. They're going to pull that play side guard. They're going to try to pin Jelly, and they're also going to use Cole Kmet to pin Jihad Ward and put Jalen Smith in a situation where he has to take on this lead block right here, which he does pretty well. Nice squeeze technique. Just go in, keep the rushing lane narrow. But watch how Jihad Ward fights through this traffic and then just expands laterally to force Khalil Herbert to keep going east-west instead of north-south. Jalen Smith does a really good job kind of coming off this block, making the tackle. Like the run defense in this game, relative to what we saw on Monday Night Football against Dallas, it's substantially better. I think some of it is the addition of Jalen Smith, but I also just think the Giants were really pissed after they were embarrassed by Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, because they look so much better. And also their opponent kind of sucks.
Part of it I was going to say is certainly the matchup. They didn't have Tyler Smith on the other side, Zach Martin, a lot of the other players on that Dallas offensive line. This is, I really think this will be the worst offensive line they get to match up against all year. It's too bad they don't get to play the Bears twice. I feel like they could beat this Bears team every game, in my opinion. Like, you're right, it's a similar team, and there were some opportunities for Chicago, but I felt like Giants had full control of this game for the first time in really a long time that I can remember, where the Giants just had a game in their control from start to finish. But yeah, let's break down this next one after that good run stop.
So this is actually a 1st and 10 play. This is the Jihad Ward sack.
Yes.
And then the next subsequent play, Kayvon Thibodeau takes the roughing the passer, because it probably was roughing the passer. He kind of like face masks.
It was a stupid play by him, to be honest. It was unnecessary.
It was just an unnecessary play by Kayvon Thibodeau, but still good to see him get into Justin Fields' lap. But here's Jihad Ward just being disciplined, staying where he needs to be. And I love that part of it too. This ends up going down as a sack. And this is what Mike Kafka would do with Daniel Jones, right? Get him on the move right here, and you have a bunch of guys running in routes. Jihad Ward sets outside, boxes him inside to where there's all these pursuing defenders, and then he has the ability and the athletic ability at 290 pounds to jump back inside to make this sack on Justin Fields. I'm telling you, man, Jihad Ward is such an unheralded player on this team. He's so valuable, and by all accounts, he's also like a huge locker room presence, and he's a very vocal type of leader. That signing might go down as one of the most underrated signings in recent Giants history if he continues to play at this level.
I would have to agree with that, because what you said, he brings off the field. Look, you can see it after the play. I mean, he celebrates a lot of plays. He's fun. He has a lot of fun on the sidelines too, and some of the sights and sounds. He brings the locker room presence, but then he also brings actual presence. Like, he is this is such a savvy, smart thing that you brought up here. I saw you broke this down on Twitter. Like, what he does there to force the run back inside, that's the entire play right here. He knows he has help on the inside. He doesn't try to get all aggressive and stupid with it and try to go like a downhill straight line angle towards Justin Fields. Like right here, he could go straight and try to get him. But instead, he has the mindset to take that outside step, force Fields back in, and then he still is able to recover and make the tackle. It's a really great individual play.
Yeah, it's a great individual play.
Then we have a more individual play if we want to go over it.
Yeah. The next play ends up being the 2nd and 12 run. I'm pulling it up right now. Sometimes for those watching on YouTube, it takes a little bit to buffer. So that's why we kind of stammer a little bit, but it's all well and good. Here, you just see a nice run by Khalil Herbert where Tay Crowder, who is playing that middle linebacker position, sees the tight end come across the formation. Then he steps down here, and that just leaves this wide open where Julian Love does a solid job actually filling, even though he doesn't make the tackle, but he just slows him down enough. Tay Crowder ends up making the tackle here, but it does seem like he's out of position. Now, I'm not 100% certain that he's not being coached to do this when he sees the tight end come from the backside with a mobile quarterback. Maybe he's coached to, scrape and replace off the ass of Kayvon Thibodeau. That is plausible. Not sure, but if it's not, it's a bad read, and it puts Julian Love into a pretty crappy position, but Love ends up helping out making this play.
And that's a huge play, because it looks like 29 could potentially make the play anyway, McKinney on it, but that could have been a touchdown if Love doesn't get back in there. And this ends up being another drive that ends in a field goal. So really good play there, I thought. And then the 3rd and 3 here, again, this is what I referenced earlier. You got to have no confidence in your quarterback, in my opinion, to run this play here in the red zone on 3rd and 3. Like, look at the look pre-snap. Does that really look to you like you saw anything and you audibled and you checked into a run? Like, where's there to go with the ball here in the run game?
There's really nowhere to go. You have a bunch of guys on the line of scrimmage, and the presence of Jihad Ward being outside of this third offensive lineman allows Xavier McKinney to just scream off the backside and make the initial contact. Everybody just clamps down on an A-gap run against the tight front. So, yeah, I'd have to agree with you there.
A weird play call down there, but thank you, Chicago. Thank you, Luke Getsy, because that was never working, and the Giants got off the field there with 3. So then we move on to this third drive, and again, as I mentioned before, first 3 drives, best 3 drives for Chicago, pretty much. This was a 10-play, 53-yard drive. The Chicago Bears got it into scoring position, but then the Giants had that massive play by Ojulari and Thibodeau to recover to Ojulari / Lawrence. We don't really know. It kind of like fell out of Justin Fields' hands because of the pressure. I don't know if anyone really hit the ball out, but great job again by Thibodeau to be heady and recover it. So let's see, where do we want to start on this drive?
And also
we start with the Jalen Smith play.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's the first play of the drive, but that also came after a 3rd and 20 conversion of a 24-yard screen. It's a second time in 2 weeks that the Giants defense surrendered a 3rd and very long conversion. Last week was the Ezekiel Elliott weak side run that we broke down on the podcast. So that's something that needs to stop. But watch Jalen Smith. And then this is his first game as a New York Giant this season. Of course, you have a tight front. You have a weak side run right here with the running back Ebner offset. But you have the entire Chicago Bears with Equinemius St. Brown and Cole Kmet. They're all kind of blocking down right here. And watch Jalen Smith fight through the contact of our guy Sam Mustipher and ends up making this tackle. This is a good play by Jalen Smith.
Roll it back. I want to see something that I thought was so cool about this play. Okay, let's pause right. Okay, a little bit more there. Oh, sorry, it popped out. I love just watching Jalen Smith's eyes on this play because you can see he's totally in sync with where it's not Herbert, I think it's Ebner on this play, with where Ebner is going to go with this run. And that's why, as you watch, he's watching Ebner, and that's why he's able to kind of get himself in position. He doesn't overly commit to that gap where he could have been taken out of the play, and so he can scrape off, read it, and make the tackle there. It's an incredible play by Jalen Smith here, I thought. Just great heady play. His eyes are in the right spot, and he does a good job of making this tackle.
Yeah, Jalen Smith looked good out there to me. Yeah, he's going to play a more expanded role, in my opinion.
There was one playing coverage where I was like, I don't really know what his assignment was. We'll go over it. But either way, the speed wasn't excellent. I don't think he's going to be the best thing for the Giants in coverage, and that's okay. The Giants weren't really getting much from Austin Calitro in coverage anyway. So it's okay. But as far as just his instincts in the run game, what he can bring as a blitzer too, I really think he's going to help the Giants as well.
Yeah, and then on the subsequent play, the 2nd and 6, it looked like Kayvon Thibodeau had no idea where he had to go. Him and Tay Crowder were communicating. It's a 3-by-1 set. It seemed like he was thrown off, or maybe he was confused as to if he should even be on the football field or not. But it does appear like right here, Justin Fields might have missed a high-low. As you could see, you have the Giants, you have the safety kind of bail into the middle of the field a little bit, and then you have the corner route, which I feel like this cornerback right here does a really good job kind of keeping Justin Fields honest, because you don't really want to throw the corner route unless you put really good air under it and put it like this area, because he's in position to play that, but then take the yardage that's there and just take the first down with this underneath route. But Justin Fields waits too long, tries to extend it, and then just ends up throwing it away. So that's probably one that
back it up like to right before Justin Fields takes off there, and from the same angle. Because I think with the right anticipation though, like he can actually hit the corner route here too. It's going to be tough, I guess. He'd have to. You're right. It's a tough right there. If he throws that and he leads it to the right spot, it's still a tough throw. So I think you're right. I think he just has to take the easy completion on the underneath right around where that 30-yard mark is.
And also his initial read comes to the boundary side of the field with these two routes. I'm a little curious as to why he might not have targeted this tight end who's running a deep corner route with Xavier McKinney in the position that he's in. Now, Xavier McKinney executes a good speed turn there, but it does seem like that tight end had outside leverage, but Fields didn't like it for whatever reason, and he attempted to go this way and still didn't really like anything he saw there, and he just held onto the football a little bit too long, took a really nice shot from Kayvon Thibodeau there.
Oh, yeah. That was a big hit he took. But Giants move here to a 3rd and 6 situation. And, once again, Justin Fields just does a really good job here of extending the play on his own.
Yeah, Justin Fields, 3rd and 6. He's looking. There's really nothing downfield. I don't even love this play call, really.
Bad play
Yeah,
call, agreed.
Aaron Robinson's all over this guy, but this would be the one route that might come open just because Aaron Robinson ends up kind of getting whipped around there. But Fields just kind of makes a really nice play there to avoid the pass rush. You can see the Giants send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but really Tay Crowder isn't coming on the blitz. The Giants in this game, here we'll see it from the end zone angle.
Yes.
What they were doing a lot of the times is they were stepping to the line of scrimmage whenever the Bears were in 6, 7-man protection. They would step to the line of scrimmage and then meet their assignment, like Tae Crowder is doing right here with Cole Kmet. He's like, okay, I look like I'm blitzing, but I'm actually just going to drop into coverage. And you're going to see that throughout the game. They do it to Khalil Herbert as well. On this play, I don't really see it as much with Herbert. Herbert kind of stays in here, and you can still see the Giants are trying to run twists and games up front with their linebackers. But this is a heady play, I'd say, by Justin Fields. But I do like the fact that they showed that plenty throughout this game, the New York Giants, that is. They would act like they're coming on the blitz, but really they're just meeting their assignment at the line of scrimmage, providing no separation for them, giving them no opportunity to run any type of choice routes or anything like that. And it's also adding that little element of deception to the quarterback, like, hey, maybe they are coming on the blitz. And then that could also just, create some sort of hesitation that can be exploited.
Yeah, and was just an example of one of many plays where Justin Fields took a big hit at the end. Justin Fields took a lot of hits in this game, partly by design, and obviously you can see there's an injury to the Giants here on this play as well, which sucks, but partly by design and partly by just him, deciding to scramble on a lot of his runs. I saw a stat before we did this podcast, Nick. Did you see the chart I tweeted out like right before we started recording?
Which one? It depends.
The one on quarterback pressure, quarterbacks under pressure, and then quarterbacks from clean pockets, and when they decide to throw on target, or if they decide to bail and scramble or take a sack.
Yes, I saw that. I like that stat. I thought that was good showing.
It was a really cool stat. The Giants and Bears were number 1 and 2. The Bears were number 1 in fewest throws and most scrambles and sacks taken. So Justin Fields, by design, maybe it's by design, maybe it's just him not processing.
I think there's a difference, though. I do think that the Giants are scheming Daniel Jones in a situation like, yeah, we'll run routes, but you're going to run and we're going to get you into a position to run. Whereas this offense, it's not doing that for Justin Fields. So I do think there's a difference there.
I think there's definitely a difference for sure. And there's also been more design runs, I think. Like even just watching this game, there wasn't really any design runs for Fields. Most of it was just him breaking from the pocket and scrambling. So yeah,
I like this play call though by Luke Getsy.
Yeah,
and it might have been a little bit of just watching film on what Kellen Moore did, because you're going to use EQ St. Brown to crack back right there on Tomon Fox. He does a good job, and you just take Mondu out and you open up this B gap right here to the weak side with a lead rusher who can kick out Aaron Robinson. This is the play that Aaron Robinson gets hurt. Now Ebner decides not to hit the hole, which might have been the better move. He takes it outside and ends up getting a pretty nice gain there. And it sucks to see Aaron Robinson and Jihad Ward down 2 consecutive plays.
I know. Ward, I think, could be fine. We'll see what happens. But Robinson obviously placed on IR. That sucks, too, because I felt like Aaron Robinson was going to be a nice piece to get back for sure. But obviously after this, you see a really nice play here by the Giants. So maybe you want to break this one down.
No, I'm just going to mention Tomon Fox again, because I feel like early in this game, he was a part of the game plan. And I'm wondering if he was part of the game plan, not just to spell Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari, but also because he is so damn physical. And the Giants were gashed laterally last game. You didn't really see him on the defense last game. So now he comes in and you could see some really nice edge setting other than the crackback block that he just took from EQ St. Brown. He did a really good job setting the edge. So I'm wondering how much of that factored into him playing 15 snaps in this game.
That's a good point. And I think a lot of people like to give the quarterback a pass when they miss like this. I personally don't. I think you got to hit that pass like 99 out of 100 times.
Yeah, it's easier said than done, obviously. But yeah, I feel you. If you're a professional quarterback, here's just a little screen to Cole Kmet that ends up going for, I think, a solid gain here. It wasn't as bad as the play that they tried running before with Tae Crowder, who sniffed it out really well. This is something they ran a little bit later in the game, another tight end screen. But we'll move on here.
Crowder kind of gets displaced on that one by the blocker.
Yeah. He ends up gaining depth there a little bit, it looks like. So here we just have another halfback pitch.
It's played so well by the Giants.
Yeah, I feel like Kayvon Thibodeau just does such a good job. You'll see Kayvon Thibodeau right here. I formation. He engages his block with Cole Kmet, and there's a fullback blasting game. And watch, he takes blasting game out too. Kayvon Thibodeau, I don't understand why Giant fans are trying to be negative on this guy. Like, this is such a veteran. He makes so many veteran plays. Dan. This is a veteran play. I'm going to expand laterally. I'm going to engage the block of the tight end, Cole Kmet, and then I'm going to remove the fullback from locating Dane Belton, which allows Dane Belton to come down. He doesn't make, well, yeah, I guess he makes the tackle, but he doesn't wrap up and like drive him. But look at the Giants rally here. This is another great play by Tae Crowder. Let's focus on Tae Crowder now, YouTube audience. Just scrapes over the top, fights through 65's block, gets outside, makes the tackle. That's just an excellent sight of defense right there in terms of what Kayvon Thibodeau, Tae Crowder, and Dane Belton did. And also, this is something that pissed me off. I almost tweeted it too. Watch what Tevin Jenkins does to Jalen Smith. Throws him at the end and he runs over this poor girl. But if anybody knows Jalen Smith's history, Jalen Smith suffered almost a career-ending injury on a play just like this against Ohio State when Taylor Decker did this after the whistle.
So unnecessary. Yes,
so unnecessary. So if there's any player that you don't want to do that to, it's Jalen Smith. So, I mean, Tevin Jenkins probably isn't aware of that, but damn, dude, you just hate to see that, you know?
And one more thing on that play, because you just brought it up. During the pre-draft process, a lot of what we heard and what I heard was, Kayvon Thibodeau doesn't really give effort in the run game. Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be a liability in the run game. Just show anyone who says that this clip, because he does a perfect job of setting the edge here. And like Nick said, it's not only that he does a great job against his assignment there, 85, he takes the fullback block out of the play as well. That's two players that he takes out of the play on his own in run defense. And so I felt like all game, there were some questions. People were saying, it was part of the reason the Giants defense struggled against the Cowboys. They weren't setting the edge. Well, I think a lot of it was scheme. Like Kellen Moore did a great job, like you said, with those wide receivers, cracking back and just getting to the edge. But this is an excellent run defense play by Thibodeau. And I think these types of plays dispel the notion that he was just a pass rusher in college.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, Dan. I remember hearing that, and then I turned the film on, and I was like, "Oh, that's a bunch of bullshit." Okay, and you know what? Another thing, dude, about Kayvon Thibodeau. Not to get on a Kayvon Thibodeau soapbox here, I heard a lot of very respectable, high-profile draft people say some stuff, and I watched a lot of Kayvon Thibodeau film, and I was like, I don't know where you're getting that stuff from. Like, I don't know where you're coming up with the fact that this guy doesn't have effort, because I see a dude chasing guys down from the backside routinely. So I'm wondering why and where that narrative came from.
I don't know either. We said this a lot during the pre-draft process. Like we said
before he was a Giant too.
Before he was a Giant. I mean, during when we did our profile for him back in March, we just didn't see it. And I don't really understand where it came from either. If we're just talking about the film he's had with the Giants, there's no real examples of him not playing with high effort. So I don't know, but it's good because it's bullshit. And, it ended up resulting in the Giants drafting him. But let's move forward here.
Dan, here's the first double A gap linebacker twist with the adjacent quarterback, contain, and spy that we went over a little bit at the top of the podcast. Watch this right here. Watch Dexter Lawrence kind of flow to the right of the screen, ends up containing with the end man on the line of scrimmage. Azeez Ojulari dropping off, kind of sinking underneath Cole Kmet, but also just keeping his eyes on Justin Fields. The nature of this play, and I broke it down a Big Blue View if anybody wants an extensive breakdown here. You're going to rush both Kayvon Thibodeau, and I believe this is Nick Williams, that are going to occupy both of these players. Dexter Lawrence has been already in this game giving Sam Mustipher so much fit. So you line him at a 2-eye, and he's probably going to open up in that direction. And if he doesn't pick up on what these Giants linebackers are doing, it's going to isolate Khalil Herbert in a 2-versus-1. That exactly is what happens. And you're going to have Jalen Smith come in. He's going to engage Khalil Herbert, and then Tay Crowder is just going to follow him in a linebacker twist, get right into the pocket, and nail Justin Fields for this sack. This is a very well schemed up sack where the Giants are realizing what the Bears are going to do, and then they're creating a 2-versus-1, something we've talked about ever since Wink Martindale was hired as the defensive coordinator. Create advantageous matchups, 2-versus-1s, 3-versus-2s, and that's exactly what happens here, and it ends up going for a sack. This is really well put together, and I just want people to realize what Dexter Lawrence and Azeez Ojulari are doing on this play, because we're going to see how that ends up working out for the Giants a little bit later in the game.
Yeah, exactly. And you can even argue that it's close, but it looks like Kayvon Thibodeau almost got held on this play as well. I'm not sure if you would consider that a hold, but it certainly looks like a hold to me. But maybe he has the inside of the jersey. It's hard to tell from this video. But
I mean, it looks like Kayvon Thibodeau has him beat and has the tackle's hips flipped, and then the tackle is just using kind of the grasp that he has on the opposite shoulder. It's not the most egregious hold, but I've seen stuff like that called before.
Also, one thing I want to ask you about this play, this was one of the plays Clay Harbor broke down on Twitter, kind of, bashing Mustipher, the center here. He basically said this is just a simple cross dog blitz, and this is on the center here. What are your thoughts on that level?
No, it's 100%, but okay. I think the Giants align Dexter Lawrence in a place where Sam Mustipher might be a little bit I would say aware of the fact that he's there because he struggled all game with him. But yeah, obviously you want Sam Mustipher to take one of these two blitzing linebackers. It's just the fact that he had to deal with Dexter Lawrence the entire game, I think was in his mind. So he was going to open up to ensure that Dexter Lawrence doesn't shoot this A gap. And that acted as a method of not allowing him to execute the assignment that he really should have executed and put Khalil Herbert into this really crappy situation to block two linebackers.
And Fields as well. Mustipher, not a good center. Thank God we don't have him starting right now. All right, now let's get to this 3rd and 20. Just an unbelievable call by the Bears, I thought. Perfect match against what the Giants did, which was blitz here, by the way. Also perfect match against Wink, who's willing to blitz in these 3rd and 20 situations. What did you see here? I mean, it's also a really good job by Khalil Herbert, I thought, in space.
Yeah, Khalil Herbert. This is just great timing, and Khalil Herbert does a really good job kind of reading his blocks, and Giants bring up pressure right there with Darnay Holmes. They have 5 guys now behind in the line of scrimmage, and you have a bunch of blockers in space. They pick up Micah Mcfadden, who was really the only player who had a shot at making the tackle, but how is Micah Mcfadden supposed to fight through 3 blockers right here? You know what I'm saying? So it's a really well-designed play, and it was promptly called.
And it was not only well-designed, it was a good counter for Wink Martindale. We talk a lot about how Wink Martindale won the battle on the chessboard. This was not a play where Wink won. And we've seen at times the Giants live and also die by the blitz. This was definitely an example of them dying by the blitz. And on the 3rd and 20, Nick, look, I'm not going to ever bash Wink for wanting to blitz, and this is his style. This is who he wants to be. This is we can't credit when it works and discredit when it doesn't. I don't know, though. On a 3rd and 20, dude, especially when you've shown so much blitz in the first 3 weeks of film and you're susceptible to a screen, I might just play like a traditional 4-man rush on that and just make Justin Fields beat you, because Justin Fields at that point hadn't really proven to me he can win on a 3rd and 20 from just a traditional drop back against 4 pass rushers type of game.
No, he couldn't. And here's another sack, though, Dan. On the next 1st and 10, here's the sack fumble by Azeez Ojulari or Dexter Lawrence. And look at Kayvon Thibodeau, man, just running over there. Look how many people are standing around. Look how many people are standing around right here.
Yeah.
It's just literally 65 and Kayvon Thibodeau. They're like, oh, that might be a fumble.
Yeah.
That's such a heady play from a rookie in his 2nd game. But let's break down the hard part of this play. Look at Azeez Ojulari right there. That's the move that he had success with in college right there. You're going to chop the outside arm, which it doesn't even look like he makes clean contact right there, but you're going to chop that downwards. But what it also does is this tackle, looks like to me, this tackle expects Azeez Ojulari to, press himself basically into the tackle and try to get hip to hip to bend through the contact. But it doesn't look like Azeez Ojulari does that. You can see how, I don't even know if he makes contact. He might make contact there, Azeez. But you can see how that tackle just whiffs right there, right? And then Azeez Ojulari is hip to hip at this point. He's going to win the half-man relationship. You just bring that rip move right up and through. And then that bend right there is just insane from Azeez Ojulari. That's ridiculous. And he's in a great position to bend. And I think this tackle just doesn't do the best job protecting his outside shoulder, obviously. And I think he whiffs. And I think that chop rip combination is dangerous. That's a great play right there from Azeez Ojulari. And then over here with Dexter Lawrence against Sam Mustipher. Hands to the face, by the way. That's hands to the face right there if everyone wants to see. But look how quick that is, man. That is like Ralph Macchio type stuff right there. That's Karate Kid, how he brings that arm just to break the contact and then get to the half-man win and then bend through contact too. Dexter Lawrence is 350 pounds, Dan. Look how he's able to separate from this center. And I know it's Sam Mustipher, but still, guys aren't typically supposed to be this athletic. And both of them get home to force this fumble. Kayvon Thibodeau, great job falling on top of it. You'll love to see the fact that these guys are getting sacks, bro.
And Ojulari is not someone who with Ojulari as a prospect, a lot of people didn't really give him credit, in my opinion, for his ability to bend. And when we watch the tape, and this is a player who, by the way, I want to give you a lot of credit for, Nick, because you loved Ojulari's film from Georgia, and you felt like he could have been the pick for the Giants in the 1st round that year with whatever they were going to do at that pick if they wanted to go in that direction. You felt like he was potentially worth that. And I after watching it with you and evaluating it, I can see why that was the case. This is really good. This trait-wise, this is really good bend here from an edge player. And again, he was known for, like you said, that move that he always won with at college, which he uses here, the chop down move. But at this end, he was setting the edge. He was good against the run, all those things. They didn't use him a lot all the time as a pass rusher. He played kind of that, I don't want to say hybrid role, but he played like a non-traditional role at times with Georgia. But this is trait-wise really good bend here. And I love to see that from one of their best, youngest asset prospects that they have on this roster.
Yes. And I also wanted to bring this up too, Dan. Look at what happens to Darnell Mooney and Fabian Moreau. Where's the OPI, huh? Where's the OPI,
Yeah, right.
everybody?
The same shit
And
we've been getting called for 2 weeks in a row.
exactly. But EQ St. Brown is open here. The Giants probably wouldn't have got the OPI. This is exactly where Justin Fields is going with the football. This could have been a huge
Oh yeah.
gain. So you want to talk about defenders stepping up in huge clutch situations after surrendering a long third down conversion to the offense. This is an excellent toughness type of play from both Dexter Lawrence and Azeez Ojulari.
You're damn right it was. And so they get the fumble there, obviously turnover on downs. The Bears get the ball back next. And this was kind of the start of the Giants' dominance on defense. They gave up one more decently long drive, but this next one was a 3-and-out by the Giants defense. And the Bears actually went backwards on this drive.
Yeah, the Bears went backward on this drive. This is a split zone.
Backward or backwards?
I think it would be, I'm not sure.
Trick question. You can use both.
You can use both.
Yeah, someone double check me on that. I'm sure I'm actually wrong about that, but I think I've heard you can use both. But let's get to the play for now.
This is a big boy play by Dexter Lawrence, who ends up getting pile drivered into the ground a little bit. You could see he has to fight through the combo, and then he ends up making the contact on Khalil Herbert to spin him around right to Jihad Ward. This is just a 1st and 10 run that goes for 4 yards, split zone type of action. We'll move on to the 2nd down play. I believe this is a let's see. It's freezing up a little bit.
Okay, the 2nd down play here. This is drive 4. This was an incompletion. This was actually a little bit of this was the one they challenged and got back the Giants. This was an underthrow by Fields. It's actually a really good read, I thought, by Fields. And this is like the type of throws I don't always see Daniel Jones make, to be completely honest, or attempt, I should say, not make. If he wants to throw these, Jones has actually been pretty ball placement-wise accurate, but I don't really see him take these whole shots a lot. And I thought this was a great read by Fields, but obviously he's got to put the ball on the receiver. It's a little bit underthrown.
Yeah, this is some sort of cover 3, and I feel like, again, Mooney kind of works into the blind spot. It went away right there, but works into the blind spot of Justin Fields. Of Adoree excuse me, of Adoree Jackson a little bit there. Dexter Lawrence also, if we see, does a really good job getting pressure. Let's go to the full screen. Gets right into the pocket. Yep. Just kind of bench presses him, and it looks like it's a catch at first, but you can kind of see how it hits the ground there and bounces up. So a good retraction.
Yeah, but definitely those whole shots will be there. Hopefully Aaron Rodgers doesn't take too much advantage of them this week. We'll see.
And then after that, just goes to a 3rd and 6 where Dexter Lawrence absolutely dominates once again. We can see it. It's freezing up a little bit for the YouTube people, but
looks good on my end. So
Dexter Lawrence on this play ends up sacking Justin Fields, and this is the play where it looks like Justin Fields' leg gets twisted up. This is a great effort right here by Dexter Lawrence, but I also kind of want to point out Mike Mcfadden's role here, because it looks like, again, the Bears are really paying attention to Dexter Lawrence with no Leonard Williams in there. You can watch how Sam Mustipher at first kind of opens up, and he looks like he's going to help 62 out, but Micah McFadden, because again, he has man coverage on Khalil Herbert right here, steps, and you can see how aggressive he is stepping, just like Tay Crowder did, like we went over before. They both step up to their assignments. But the fact that Micah McFadden acted like he was going to blitz here, watch 67. I can't help 62 anymore. So I have to come up and pay attention to Micah McFadden, and that isolates Dexter Lawrence in a one-on-one situation as it goes away. A one-on-one situation against the number 62, and Dexter Lawrence just absolutely owns him in that matchup.
What a good game for Dexter Lawrence it was here. I mean, we keep going over plays and drives, and we just keep bringing up his name, and you just watch the film with us along. If you are watching on YouTube, or if you're just listening, you hear how much we mention him. He just dominated on a down-to-down basis, despite the fact that he played 94% of the snaps, which is insane because he maintained that level of play throughout. Just look at him here. I mean, this is the level of this is, to me, like if you take Dexter Lawrence 17 overall and he played like this every game, Nick, it would be with a steal of the draft. He looked like a Jeffrey Simmons as a pass rusher in this game. And that doesn't even factor in what he gives you as a run stopper, which, some of those guys like the Jeffrey Simmons types don't ultimately give you, at least not that same level. So, I mean, if he can turn into this version of a pass rusher on a week-to-week basis, and it's going to be a lot tougher when Mustipher isn't lined up across from him, to be completely honest with the situation, but it could be that he's been unlocked in this defensive system. It could be that just, dude, it's natural progression. Like, players get better as they learn more about the NFL. And like me and Nick always said, the progression isn't always linear. But if he becomes this version, this level pass rusher, this is like the Giants then potentially have 3 maybe 4 guys on a down-to-down basis with Leonard Williams, depending on how long he lasts here, that can give you a one-on-one win against whoever their opponent is on a down-to-down basis.
Look at the coverage too, Dan.
So good.
It's all over the place. You align cover 2 or at least 2 high initially, and then you drop the boundary safety down to basically rob anything at the sticks, take any kind of crossing routes, and he just kind of sits there underneath that number 2 receiver's cross, and Justin Fields has nowhere to go with the football.
That was one thing I talked about a little bit earlier today on Twitter, Nick. I was like, look, as far as what I remember from, and this is not a knock on Patrick Graham, but there are a lot more plays when I'm watching the Wink Martindale film of a quarterback under pressure pretty early in the snap. And if you look at that view, the sideline view, there's just nothing open somehow. Despite the fact the Giants are either blitzing or getting pressure, there's nothing open on the back end. And that's a testament to how they're coaching this defense up right now.
They're playing really well. Again, I feel like we always have to keep ourselves honest here and acknowledge the fact that this is the Chicago Bears, bad offensive line right now, bad quarterback, and bad offensive weapons.
Yeah, all that's true, but still, you can only beat your opponent, like we always say. All right,
Absolutely.
We can move on to this next drive. This was a 7-play, 13-yard drive. It did result in a field goal because the Giants turned the ball over leading up to that and put them in a really good position. But look, if you can limit them to 7 plays, 13 yards after that turnover, to keep it 3 points and to keep 7 off the board, that's a big sign. So where do you want to start on this drive?
Yeah, I have the first play up. I just kind of want to acknowledge Nick Williams because he popped on this drive specifically several different times. And like you said, this is after the Richie James fumble on the punt. So this is a sudden change situation. The defense just earned the right to get off the field, and now they have to go back on the field. And the way they stepped up and still shut down Chicago's passing game and rushing attack, I am proud of that. And look at Nick Williams right here, fight through this block, and then Tay Crowder just be disciplined to read exactly what's going on and then make the tackle. Both of them, very nice play on this first down.
I really like Kayvon Thibodeau on this play, too. I thought he played this really patiently and didn't allow for, and maybe this is just him executing his assignment, like nothing too crazy, but it doesn't give Justin Fields the opportunity, if he wants it, to carry it, to keep the ball and try to get the edge.
Oh, absolutely. And look, if Justin Fields keeps this ball, he has Kayvon Thibodeau here, and I also feel like Dane Belton is right there. Yes. You have this defender who's following EQ St. Brown, but the objective here is you have 2 guys lead blocking for Justin Fields. So the patience of the read defender, which is Kayvon Thibodeau, Dane Belton, really forced Justin Fields to hand the football off, and you could see how that did not work at all. Tay Crowder's right in position. Nick Williams fights through his block. Yeah, oh yeah, dude.
Crowder, Belton, and Thibodeau, if you're watching this on the YouTube, just they play this so well and patiently. Like, this is just perfectly coached. This is, I assume, how you perfectly coach this play up.
Yeah, you love to see it, man. I love to see Tae Crowder step up in this situation. Somebody that we have given a hard time on this podcast, rightfully so. But like we said at the top of the show, this was his best game, in my opinion. I think on this play, as a 2nd and 10, Nick Williams just gets his big mitt right in the air and knocks this ball out of the air on just a simple slant flat. So they're just trying to design these quick game type of routes for Justin Fields. Hit your back foot, fire the football into the throwing window. But Nick Williams is like, no. And look who it is. Sam Musfer just gets bench pressed by Nick Williams here.
Yes, he does. Wow. That is not a good rep for the Mussy boy. This Mustafa dude, is he even going to they obviously have no other better option, but it's just, I can't imagine this dude starting all year.
Yeah, no, I mean, they got to figure something out. Right here, though, this is a 3rd and 10. Justin Fields picking up 12 with his legs, and this is what Fields offers.
This is the one we were referencing earlier.
Oh, yeah, this is watch Darnell Mooney. So for everyone watching YouTube, you have a 3-by-1 set for those who aren't on YouTube, right? And Darnell Mooney is a number 3 receiver, kind of right off of where Kayvon Thibodeau is aligned. Kayvon Thibodeau is aligned as an edge rusher. So he's really tight, and the New York Giants, essentially, they just go into a quarter, half. So it's cover 6 type of defense. And Darnell Mooney finds the soft spot between Xavier McKinney and Dane Belton. When you run a 4 vertical type of concept against quarter, half, that half field defender is in a really tough spot because he has half the field to defend with 2 vertical routes going into his area. And it looks like the Giants had Moreau actually cover the vertical to the outside all the way up, and he does a good job covering that. But Darnell Mooney is wide open here, and Justin Fields had to commit to running the football, and he kind of doesn't really throw his hands in the air, but he looks like, man, like we missed this. That's Darnell Mooney.
As he should be, because they ended up scoring a field goal on that drive. But go back to that drive. This is what we always talk about the quarterbacks here. So pause. Yeah, you can even do it from that view. You can first do it from this view. Pause it when you think Mooney is open. look at this pocket. Why does Fields have to bail from this pocket? Now flip it to the other view. This is something I've seen a lot with Daniel Jones too. This just decision making to kind of bail from these pockets that are just not pockets you need to bail from. Like when you get to this point where he decides to bail, why is that a pocket that you need to bail from at all, dude? You can easily reset yourself in this pocket and scan, and it doesn't take long to see Mooney wide open, and that's then an easy throw on platform with no pressure in your face, basically a pitch and catch touchdown.
This is one of the best pockets he got all game, too.
Yeah, look at this thing. Why is he bailing from this pocket? It doesn't make any sense to me. I see this
He's
a lot.
Bailing. He's bailing because it's 3rd and 9, and
Sure.
I think he's watching Jalen Smith. And once he sees Jalen Smith match Khalil Herbert going in the opposite direction of him, also kind of looking through his periffs to see Azeez Ojulari trying to win high side.
Right.
There's just a huge hole for him to run through, and I think he's just going to take the yardage at this point. But you're right, man. Like a good quarterback, somebody who is heady, somebody who knows the coverage, knows the play call, knows how the play call can exploit the coverage, will sit there and throw that ball to Darnell Mooney because like we highlighted, like right here, man, like Darnell Mooney is breaking open early. Once you see Dane Belton go over the number 2 receiver and expand, and Xavier McKinney flip his hips to help Moreau out, like right here, like Darnell Mooney is open at this point with Xavier McKinney's hips turned that way and Dane Belton looking at the number 2 receiver to carry him vertically. And he just doesn't throw the football. So he committed to running, and sometimes that is not the best option and not the most efficient way to move your offense.
It might be the most efficient, honestly, but efficiency is not the name of the game. That's the name of Jason Garrett's game.
Good point.
And the fact of the matter is, like, his eyes were he was more focused on, like you said, where Jalen Smith was going, and that meaning he's going to have that free lane, and obviously with the peripherals with Azeez Ojulari rushing us the arc, and it gives him the free first down. Fine, you're more focused on that. But if you're more focused on reading the entire field, and like you said, it doesn't even have to be a read; it's just pre-snap, right? Like you just have to know based on that coverage and you using a 4 vertical style route that you're going to have a possibility that Mooney could get open, and you got to be aware of that because that takes a touchdown off the board here for the Bears. That's on Fields.
Absolutely. And I feel like Moreau plays this next play very well. This is the post wheel play that we broke down at the on the quick reaction podcast. Good play call by Luke Getsy. I feel like a lot of teams are running this in the red zone. We've seen the Giants run this at least 2 times in the red zone. You motion EQ St. Brown from the opposite side to set up a 2 receiver look. And then you go into the mesh point to get all those linebackers to bite up. And now you roll Justin Fields out to the boundary side. And what you're trying to do is isolate EQ St. Brown against Xavier McKinney, who's safety pre-snap, dropping down and matching EQ St. Brown. And look at EQ St. Brown and how open he is. He has the leverage here. This could be a touchdown or should have been a touchdown if it wasn't for Fabian Moreau coming off the post portion of this route to really help secure the deep third of the field here. Like, this is a great play by Moreau. Very, very good awareness and just ability to understand route concepts here because McKinney is beat and Moreau ensures that it doesn't go for a completion.
I love that you pointed this play out because it was one of the better plays that went unnoticed, and it was by Fabian Moreau, a player who they're going to have to rely on now a lot more with Aaron Robinson headed back to the injured reserve. We don't know what's going to happen with Cordell Flott and his injury, but either way, I think Moreau has definitely earned, at worst, the timeshare type of situation there with how well he's playing. And it's not like he's playing out of this world or anything, and he hasn't been tested or anything by some of these quarterbacks like he might with better quarterbacks, but that play right there is a super heady play, and that's a really good individual play.
Absolutely. And then we have the 2nd and 10 run stop by Nick Williams. Again, Nick Williams came up with 3 huge plays here. You can see Nick Williams split this double team. Like, here's Johnny. I made that joke a couple different times, but, it's still fitting here. And it definitely looks like it here. What's up?
The Shining, right?
Yeah, of course. The Shining. Here's Johnny, Jack Nicklaus. Watch how he does that. And then he ends up assisting Darnay Holmes, who screams off the side right here to make the tackle from the backside of the split zone run.
Yep. And then we get to a 3rd and 15, and the Bears are going to try exactly what they tried already. Well, not exactly. This is a different version. They throw it to the bubble, but like you can't run screen again. They're trying to run screen again. The Giants are going to get used to it at some point, right?
Yeah, they absolutely will. And look at Tay Crowder too. Again, Tay Crowder. He's right here on the hash. His eyes go directly to Cole. He sees exactly what's going on.
He knows what they're going to do here.
And he's right in position, and then the Giants just rally and make that tackle. So you love to see that. And there's Tevin Jenkins throwing more Giants to the ground. At least this one was during the play, but he really.
Tevin Jenkins is just really, and he goes back for more. Tevin Jenkins, yeah,
he's a mean guy, like in terms of being a football player, which I personally respect. But come on, let's let's not hit Jalen Smith after the whistle. That guy's been through enough.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's move past this one. The Bears actually get a field goal on this one, and after this, they only have one more field goal drive the rest of the game. We don't have to go over the 3 plays, 9 yards before the half. We can get into their first drive of the second half here, dive right into that. This was their last scoring drive of the game. It was a 9-play, 58-yard field goal drive. And then after that, the defense just completely took over the game. That's pretty crazy when you think of it from that standpoint, dude. Like, they had one drive to start the third quarter and then nothing else in this game. Like, it's not like the Giants were doing too much on offense, and so they really needed it on defense, and they got it. And it just goes to show like how dominant of defensive performance it actually was. So let's dive right into this drive here, Nick.
Yeah, the first play, it's like Luke Getsy was like, you know what? They're really using Daniel Jones on those play action bootlegs. Maybe we should try something like that. And they have success, man. They run a play action bootleg on the first play, and I believe it's Cole Kmet. No, it's actually Trayvon Wesco is just streaking over the middle of the field. And I feel like Jalen Smith just absolutely loses him here. And then Tae Crowder ends up playing
was the play
contain.
I was talking about with Smith.
Yeah. He ends up playing contain right here. And I don't know the assignments. I'm not
Me too. It almost looks like the assignment was the problem here. Like, I don't know if, because you can see Jalen Smith even take a step toward the line of scrimmage at some point in the coverage. Like, right. Let's run it back. Like, right. Watch him in coverage. Watch him. You see he kind of takes a step and then he pops back out. I don't know why he did that or anything.
I'm wondering if it's because this running back's leaking out. It looks like right here he's looking at that running back. But I think the interesting thing to take away from this play, first off, you have like a post wheel type of combination again, even though they hit the horizontal cross. Who is covering Cole Kmet deep?
Yeah.
That's Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yep.
Kayvon Thibodeau carried Cole Kmet about 30 yards downfield, laterally flipping his hip.
Look at that.
And Cole Kmet has a step on him, but Kayvon Thibodeau is keeping up with him. And yeah, they're comparable in size in terms of just weight. Cole Kmet's a little bit taller than Kayvon, but that's a tight end and an edge rusher. Yeah. This is something that Kayvon Thibodeau has in his wheelhouse. And Moreau also saw that. Moreau is aligned over the top of Cole Kmet in the box, and he ends up helping Kayvon Thibodeau, but that's 2 guys against 1, and that's one reason why Trayvon Wesco is wide open. So it's one reason why I'm like, is Jalen Smith thinking that Moreau or Kayvon Thibodeau are going to be in this area? There's no way for me to know that, but that's just one thing I kind of wanted to put out there because I want to be fair to everybody.
Yeah, that's a great point. And sometimes just tip your hat to the offensive coordinator for really good design and a really good play call. I think that's an example of that.
Absolutely. Now we're going to see some disciplined Jihad Ward on this 1st and 10 play. And another great play by Adoree Jackson, Ward, and Tay Crowder. We've said that a lot. Look at Jihad Ward. Just stay right in the spot. Doesn't crash down. Doesn't fall for the eye candy right here. Just stays right there. And Khalil Herbert, or actually I think this is Ebner, is like, okay, I have no idea where I'm supposed to go with the football. Tay Crowder undercuts. Adoree Jackson flies up and makes a nice physical tackle. Man, I'll say, Adoree Jackson had some physical tackles on tape when he was at Tennessee. But he is pound for pound a very, very tough dude here with the New York Giants.
Yeah, it looks like he's almost even better against the run than he's ever been in his career. I think part of that is just the coaching and the style of defense. Like, it's really being hammered home, like how important the run defense is and how important tackling is and the physicality that everyone's bringing. Like, everybody flies to the ball in this defense. Everybody brings so much physicality, and I think he's bought into that. Everything Adoree has brought so far. Like, sometimes these free agent guys, they come in and they're just like busts, or they go from the previous regime and they don't really. I
don't really know of many busts. The New York Giants free agency.
Yeah, they've been hitting 10 of 10 free agents every year, but like, this is not a good. This is example the opposite. Like, this dude is bought into a brand new system that he wasn't even recruited to play in, and he loves it. Like, he plays really well within the system.
Yeah, he does. And I'm excited about that because the Giants need him. He's arguably one of the most important players on this defense. And that's saying a lot because there are a lot of good players on this defense. And here's just another example of sound run defense, this time to a double Y set, 2 tight ends to the boundary side. But just look how Kayvon Thibodeau sets this edge, plays the game of peekaboo. When we say plays the game of peekaboo, look, you can see how he looks inside. He sees that lead blocker. He stacks the tight end off of him by bench pressing him and locking him out. And now he gets his eyes to the outside to see what exactly the running back is doing. He sees the lateral flow, so he expands. Moreau does a good job kind of containing as well. And that allows Tae Crowder to just come from his linebacker spot and make this tackle. Again, great team defense. Look how many Giant jerseys are around outside the numbers. You have Dexter Lawrence, the backside linebacker, Jalen Smith. This run defense in this game, despite the fact that they were playing lesser competition, but still, just from a continuity standpoint, executing their assignment standpoint, they were so damn disciplined in what they were supposed to do. A stark contrast from what we saw on the opposite side of the football field.
Yeah, and a stark contrast from what we saw in some ways the week before against Dallas.
Absolutely. It's like they were humbled against Dallas a little bit. And now, Dan, on the 2nd and 11, we see Justin Fields hit, I think it's Darnell Mooney on a deep over route, something the Giants are struggling to defend whenever they're in these cover 3 type defenses, especially when they bring some blitzes or they're really focused on these underneath routes. You could see these defenders, like we said, when you step to the line of scrimmage to meet them like the Giants were doing all game, and typically that was in man coverage, but even in zone, you get a little aggressive, press towards the line of scrimmage, restrict the space, then that's going to leave more space behind you. And you could see how Micah Mcfadden is so close to the line of scrimmage here, and Darnell Mooney is just wide open, and the Giants can't really do anything to defend it at that point.
Yeah, you said it best. The deep overs have been, as we watch through the film, the deep overs have been open a lot. Tannehill did a good job exposing the Giants on that a couple times. Just here, we saw Justin Fields do it. He took another hole shot earlier against cover 3, but it was a different throw. But that's something that I'm definitely worried about, I guess I would say, against the good quarterbacks we have on the schedule, because they're going to eat that. They're going to eat that crap up, to be completely honest. But maybe that's something the Giants can also adjust to. I feel like part of it is the second level. Like you said, they're worried about some of those underneath routes, and they're playing not with I would say not the greatest depth to stop deep overs, but we'll see. I mean, that could also just partly be something they need to fix within their scheme.
Yeah, and that was a 3rd and 9, so that was an actual 3rd and 9 that they converted using Justin Fields' passing ability. But that sets up this 1st and 10 where the Bears get some life in their rushing attack with a 15-yard run to the weak side. And this is one where Tay Crowder just kind of gets intercepted right here. Yep, he doesn't scrape over the top right here. He's trying to see what exactly is happening. There's a combo block right there on Dexter Lawrence. You have Azeez Ojulari setting the edge, and then he's supposed to fill right there, but he just gets intercepted, and there's no one to really bail him out. So then the Giants are just scrambling, ends up going for 15 yards. Not the best run defending play right here, but, I feel like Tae Crowder overall had obviously a great game. We're going to see a pretty good fill in this next play too.
Yeah, exactly. Like we have probably 2 or 3 plays where Crowder was out of position, but that is juxtaposed against the 10 to 13 plays or whatever it was that he does a great job of. And we'll take that. That's batting really in the NFL. That's batting pretty damn good.
And right here, you can see the very next play. Watch Tae Crowder right there in the middle of the defense. Sees the double team on Ward, just quickly fills and just eats off that block right there from Tevin Jenkins. Where is the running back going to go? There's nowhere for him to go because Tae Crowder filled so quickly, and that guard wasn't able to climb up to the second level to really locate him. He met him at the line of scrimmage. The Giants are all over the place to make this tackle.
Ward got bent back pretty awkwardly on this play. I don't know if that's one that he maybe got injured on, but just didn't look great to see on the tape as we're running it back here. Just look at how he gets bent back. Yeah. But
and Dexter Lawrence, dude, he is so efficient with his hands.
Lawrence,
like dude, like right here, he long arms him and then creates that separation so he can get his eyes on what the running back is doing, and then he just swim move right back over, right into the gap, helps out with the tackle.
Again, he's really truly breaking out in front of our eyes, and at this point, like if he continues on this trajectory, we're not only happy we picked up this rookie option, but he becomes somebody that's you're willing to give a long-term contract to. It's tough to fit 2 massive contracts on the interior defensive line with Williams and Lawrence, but as you mentioned on a previous podcast at one point, Nick, the Williams contract might not go on forever.
No, the Williams contract might not go on forever, and that's something that we have to, I feel like, acknowledge, because I know they extended him, but there might come a point where the Giants have to make even more difficult decisions. But we'll probably tackle that when we'll definitely tackle that when the time comes. Here's the 2nd and 6
not
play.
A good throw by Fields.
Yeah, this is not a good play by Fields at all. EQ St. Brown is open here. He releases much. Uses that little push off, that little Mike Evans push off. You could put the football right there. You have enough space to probably not make Moreau miss, but to pick up the yardage to set up a 3rd and manageable. Instead, it goes incomplete because Fields just ducks it right there.
Yeah, it's just bad. This is the problem with Fields. At times when I'm watching him on the film, I just feel like everything mechanically is just not always there for him. Like, look at how he throws this football here. Look at his feet and look at the actual. Yeah, we can see it better from here. I want to see it from this angle too. Let's watch the release point from Fields here. That's just, the back foot's off the ground. He kind of just whips that with the 3/4 look, not over the. That's partially sometimes how he throws, but I don't know. I just feel like that right there is just not a great example of mechanics. And as you see, the ball's like short hopped almost.
It is, and there's no pressure in his face. No
Oh,
one tipped it
perfect
or
pocket.
anything.
Yeah.
Perfect pocket again. But look at Aziz, man, trying to bend this edge right here. This is the look at him right here. It's like a superhero jumping off a building. Whoa! And he tries to land that outside arm chop.
Yeah.
He loves to do, right? And he ends up bending right here, dude. I'm telling you, Aziz has shown some impressive bend.
Really
Dude,
good bend.
Look at that. Look at as I slowly do this. Look at the bend that he has.
Who would you say showed better bend in this game, Aziz or Thibodeau?
Oh, Aziz Ojulari.
I think it was Aziz by far in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think Aziz Ojulari probably has better bend than Kayvon Thibodeau, anyways. And I don't think either of them, or at least when they came out of the draft, I didn't think either of them were the most bendy guys in their respective draft class. But I think Aziz Ojulari has more bend than Kayvon. That's one thing that we knocked Kayvon for is a little bit of stiffness in his ankles. He could still bend. Don't get me wrong; it's not a problem with his game. But if you put him with Aziz Ojulari, I think Ojulari is definitely more Gumby-like.
Yeah, I would agree.
And then the next play is a 3rd and 6 tight end screen that, again, does not go well. You hit once on the tight end screen.
I know. How many times are you going to dial this thing up? Jalen Smith is just like, I know this shit is coming. Like, look at him.
Jalen Smith is right there to make this play. But this goes back, Dan, to the argument that we have with Daniel Jones sometimes, right? It's like, how much does the coaching staff trust Daniel Jones when they don't want to run certain concepts? And it's not just Daniel Jones. It's also the offensive line. It's the David Sills of the world. It's all that kind of collectively. But you could say the same exact thing, and I think it's a better example of that for Justin Fields. There's no way that coaching staff trusts Justin Fields. And there's no way that Justin Fields probably trusts that coaching staff. That's why I think the marriage between them needs a divorce. But how do you do that with a kid in his second year who hasn't even started 15 games yet, who has a lot of talent, but what kind of return can you get on that? Like, that's just a messy situation.
It is interesting. Like like you brought it up, man. They tried the screen. It worked on one of their 3rd and long. They went back to that twice and it didn't work. Like, what kind of trust do you have in your quarterback to not have him operate just a traditional drop back or traditional passing play on those 3rd situations? I didn't love, like we talked about earlier, the run in the red zone was really not showing confidence in him. And we'll see what happens with Fields. I personally, this is the first time I've really watched a lot of Fields. Like, I haven't watch him too much. I wasn't impressed with him. I wasn't impressed with some of the throws he made on platform. We discussed a bunch already in this game. And just, it's just not, he can run with the ball. And I think he throws pretty well on the run. And the ball he threw to Mooney was great. But then he took a couple shots into a couple of those hole shots where the ball just like died on him for whatever reason. And that's like he's supposed to have better arm talent than that too.
He's definitely supposed to have better arm talent than that. From a physical standpoint, he has a lot of things going for him. So we'll see, man. It's still young in his career, and that's what you can go with. This is somebody on his 2nd offensive coordinator, similar to Daniel Jones. A lot of turnover. And this offense is very precise, and he's just not there yet. So if I'm a Chicago Bears fan, I'm just saying be patient. Why are you smiling?
I'm just smiling because it reminds me so much of the Daniel Jones situation. I've seen a lot of people like already tweeting. I tweeted out those 2 plays on Twitter where I thought Justin Fields missed Mooney for the wide open touchdown when we broke down and where he missed that high low. And everybody's like doing the same things. That all the Bears fans who have replied have been like, no, the coaches are telling him to do that. The offensive line sucks. The receivers suck. It's just the same thing over and over you get when these quarterbacks struggle. It's
cyclical, but I'll tell you this, you weren't saying that about Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had some of his struggles, but a lot of these recent young quarterbacks, there was never the questions or the excuses. They were, even though the teams might not have been winning, the talent was still evident on the film. And that, I think, is like the number one thing you're looking for as a fan base. Can you win with a Daniel Jones, Justin Fields? Sure. But are they the reasons that you're winning these football games? And if the answer is no there, do you want to lock that up to a long-term contract? And I think that's the conversation that every fan base, all 32 fan bases, need to be making when you have to go up against Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and all of these just absolute studs at the quarterback position.
Yeah, it's a great point. And also it's not just can they win the games in front of them. Like right now, Daniel Jones, I think, has actually played a big role in some of these wins. I thought he played a big role in this win. I thought he played a huge role in the Dallas game, even though they lost that game. And I still just think if they were to win that, he would have been a factor in it. Really, every game he's played some of a role. The problem is, can they play a big role in the big games? The ones against the Mahomeses, the ones against the Josh Allens, the one against Aaron Rodgers coming up, the one against Lamar Jackson coming up. That's what it counts down to. Because, look, if you can beat the bad teams of this league, you can probably grind to 9 wins a year. But that's not what at least me and Nick, we don't. It's good. We're happy that this might be the case this year, and the Giants finally might go over 500. But at the same time, like, we also have to think of this from a long-term standpoint, and we want a team that can compete for the Super Bowl every year, and that's the real focus.
And what the Giants are doing right now, it's very unconventional, and
Yes.
teams are going to be able to figure it out by containing Daniel Jones.
Yes. Yeah.
And with Daniel Jones's hurt ankle, if he's not able to do those rollouts, then this offense is going to change drastically, and that's something that we need to be paying attention to. But Dan, what happened on the next 3 drives for the New York Giants defense?
Yeah, we can go over these. They're just great drives by the Giants here. I mean, look, we get into these. I actually have the video up, so I'm going to pop out. I just want to go over the actual numbers on this. The first is a 3-play drive by the Bears that goes for -1. The next is a 3-player drive by the Bears that goes for 6 yards. And then the one after that is a 3-play drive that goes for 7 yards.
It's great, man. This is just pure defense shutting down an offense. And we've said it so many times throughout this podcast. Again, we're keeping everything honest. The offense is struggling to say the least, but still, you gotta dictate teams like this. And
Dexter Lawrence this deep into a game where he's played 94% of the snaps. Every defensive lineman we know in the world gets breathers. Like, even the Aaron Donalds of the world aren't playing 94%. And if they are, they usually tail off completely. We saw the whole thing with the Jets defensive line coach and Quinnen Williams, where he's like, I can't play Quinnen Williams at times in the fourth quarter because he's gassed on the sideline, grasping for air. I don't know if I take the coach's side, and I don't think you should ever admit that, even if that's the case with your star player. But the opposite is true here. Dexter Lawrence, absolutely embarrassing with his hands and his initial pass rush. This Mustipher kid, man, he really made it living hell for this Mustipher dude. Look at this freaking rep by Lawrence in the fourth quarter.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely great, man. Watch this. Just a quick double swipe. Nah, screw you. You're not going to make contact. And then I'm just going to swim over the top and completely create separation.
Should have held him, Mustipher. I'm surprised Mustipher didn't go for just the tackle hold.
But also look how, because, yes, using Dexter Lawrence as a nose and a one technique, I feel like he's getting a lot out of that. But at the same time, it's how Wink Martindale is employing these fronts. Like, you're isolating the Sam Mustipher kid, who I'm sure the Giants defensive staff was like, okay, we got to get Dexter Lawrence on this guy. If it was Leonard Williams, they would get Leonard Williams on him. So they put a 3 technique right over the top of this guard, and then a 4-eye with Nick Williams here, and then a wide with Tomon Fox, who's going to occupy that tackle. So you get a 1-on-1 matchup here, a 1.5 on Tomon Fox because the tight end chips and releases, and then you rush 5 total guys. What is that going to do when there's only 5-man protection? That's going to isolate Sam Mustipher against Dexter Lawrence. And that's exactly what happened so many times in this game. They couldn't help Sam Mustipher. He was in a position where he had to block one-on-one Dexter Lawrence, and that is a matchup the Giants are going to win 99% of the time. You can see that the Bears are trying to chip and release with Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet, but it doesn't matter because you can't help Mustipher unless you use Khalil Herbert in this protection, but he ends up stepping up in a play action and goes in the opposite direction. So this sucks for Fields. This is a tough spot to be in. Kudos to him for being able to evade everybody, but Jalen Smith does a really good job kind of getting over to Justin Fields and making this tackle before he picks up the first down.
Kudos to you, Nick. That was a fire point. I love that breakdown of, like, look, you could see it if you're the Bears, and you could be like, what are let's do something to stop this. But the Giants schemed it up in a way where there wasn't really any other option than we need to go mano-a-mano. Mustipher is going to have to do his job against Dexter Lawrence, and that's the only option that the Bears were left with based on how the Giants schemed around Lawrence with the pieces they had, and that option was not a winning option for the Bears because this dude could not handle Dexter Lawrence.
And then you have this weak side run right here by the Bears, double Y set to the field side, and watch how the tight ends climb. Like on plays like this where you're cutting back, like Azeez Ojulari knows right here that Justin Fields, he doesn't respect that Justin Fields has the ball because he can see that the handoff's right there. He's the unblocked defender. Like he almost crashes into this play to make a tackle. I feel like that tight end does a good job kind of coming back, almost taking a clip, but I would say that's a legal block right here. But just look at the interior parts of the Giants defensive line. Nick Williams is playing really well here. He presses and presses that offensive lineman right into the rushing path. Dexter Lawrence just absolutely dominates Sam Mustipher, and there's nowhere to go right here for the Chicago Bears. And it's not even like the Giants are all just stacked in the box, loading up the line of scrimmage. You have 2 down linemen and then 2 edge rushers, 2 linebackers, and Darnay Holmes. And they're still able to execute the run defense as well as they were able to.
Nick Williams had a pretty damn good game for the Giants. That's 93.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. I mean, look, they find a way to get interior defensive linemen off the wire every offseason. It feels like that contribute.
Yeah, they do an excellent job. They do an excellent job finding these defensive linemen. And that's to your point that you make a lot. Now, is it to the level of a Dexter Lawrence? Absolutely not. But still, it's a player that can step in and play like 15, 20 snaps for you like an Austin Johnson did and be a quality player on your defense. The flip side of that argument, though, is Danny Shelton.
Yeah, of course. It's not always going to work out, though. It does seem to have worked out maybe 5 of 6 times, like, 5 every 6 times, 4 of every 5. And I would imagine this is similar across the league. I will say this on that point, though. I think the Giants have done a really good job this offseason. And not this offseason, this in season of kind of retooling their linebacker core on the fly, like finding a Klein. And we haven't seen Klein perform yet, but I'm pretty sure once we start watching film on Klein, when he starts getting in there, we're going to see good clips at him. They already got that out of Jalen Smith, and that's someone who they were able to just scoop up. So that's a unit where a lot of times we've talked in the past, like the Giants have been so bad at linebacker for so many years. They haven't invested anything interesting in the draft. But at the same time, that's another position that a lot of NFL teams don't value that highly in the draft, and you can kind of sometimes find guys that can contribute off the wire. And I think the Giants have done a really good job at that as well. So at least so far with Jalen Smith and potentially with Klein.
I just like this third down discipline too by Jihad Ward to get outside here. And you can see how he works outside because Azeez Ojulari kind of drops quarterback spy possibly underneath. You can see how he's just looking at Justin Fields, but Jihad Ward goes for the pass rush, sees that the tight end stays in, and then just expands laterally to remove the field side from Justin Fields. And then Justin Fields has to throw this away. And if you look at it from the sideline angle, they have a high-low, but it's not definitively there against Adoree Jackson, who plays these situations very well. You can see they're going to end
plays, Nick, and I'm like, why is the quarterback doing what he's doing? When he starts to roll there, dude, why not flip your hits and hit and like take a step with your left foot and go back toward the middle there? There is a pocket there. Like as Jihad Ward expands, you can kind of bounce back inside. And yeah, Ojulari at that point will probably attack downhill, but you'll have at least 1.5, 2 seconds to evaluate your options and throw from that grounded base. I see this a lot with quarterbacks. I just don't see why he's rolling to his right there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he trusts himself to throw to the field side. He definitely has the arm.
Yeah,
he definitely has the arm talent when the mechanics are there to do it. Like that's not an issue with Justin Fields, but I don't know how accurate he is when the bullets are flying in terms of touch and things like that. That's not something that we saw. I feel like he throws a good ball, right? Like when he throws it, you're like, oh wow, that thing came out of his arm, good velo, all that. But in terms of like those touch passes on the other side, it's not something that we really saw at all in this game.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, now we have another 3-play drive, right? Don't you love it, Dan? Don't you love good defense right here by the New York Football Giants?
Who doesn't love 3 and outs, baby?
Here we are. So here's another third down right here, and I believe this is a run, so we'll go to the end zone copy right here. I believe it's a run to Ebner, motion the fullback back in, and we just get a little halfback pitch. Very well played by Nick Williams. It ends up going for a solid game. But watch Nick Williams just flow outside, and he forces, instead of that path going more direct, Ebner has to really just kind of go east to west before getting north to south, which allows Jalen Smith, just gives Jalen Smith, I should say, a little bit more time to just affect the contact there. And it almost goes for 10 yards on this play. But I felt like that was a good, solid play by Nick Williams just to kind of be a nuisance as a defensive end there.
Yep, 100%.
Now here we have a double Y set on the second and short play by the New York Giants. Tight front. This is a play action rollout right here. Kayvon Thibodeau is the star of this play. He gets in Justin Fields' face and forces Justin Fields to roll out, and this little dump off pass right here ends up getting dropped. So the tight end is just kind of chipping and then releasing. And I feel like Kayvon Thibodeau turns a really nice tight corner there and just harasses Justin Fields as Justin Fields throws this incomplete pass about 2 feet in front of him, even though there are 2 linebackers and a defensive end right around where the pass goes. That could have easily have been intercepted too.
Yeah.
And then the third down play, Dan, is the Fabian Moreau play right here. Watch.
Man coverage.
And there's good separation off the line. That's a good outside release right there. And just a great recovery right there. No panic. Just gets his hands right into Dante Pettis' face mask. And this, I think it hit Dante Pettis in the hands. Like you have to catch this football in this situation. But this is just a one-on-one situation where Justin Fields puts the ball into a very catchable spot. The Giants blitz. They have one guy deep in Dane Belton. You have to catch the football. But kudos to Moreau, man, for coming through big in this clutch situation to force the punt.
Yeah, it was a good ball by Fields. It was a really good recovery by Moreau.
And that's what we're going to need too, Dan, right? Without Cordell Flott, without Aaron Robinson, you're going to need Moreau to step up big. And that's not something that we thought, just a couple weeks ago. We were like, oh, they brought in Moreau. Yeah, that kid from UCLA a while ago tore his pec during the draft process. He's okay. He was on Washington for a little while. He was on Atlanta last year. And now he's probably going to be a big part of what the Giants do defensively. He's going to be a starter. And that's a little scary. But at the same time, he consistently makes plays like this. It's a good situation to be in.
Yeah, he's playing well right now. They're obviously dealing with a situation where they don't have a lot of depth now at the corner position. The Robinson injury pisses me off so much. It's so unlucky, and I really felt like he got back onto the field faster, at least in your initial doctor diagnosis of the injury. Yeah, that's a good thing. But now, obviously, some bad luck that they were hit with. But it is what it is, and now he'll be relied on for a much bigger role than we were expecting. But so far, so good. Like both those plays we broke down today, the recovery that you just showed, and then earlier the really heady play on that post wheel, that was like a big time play that Moreau made. That I'm not even certain, dude, if they had Robinson or Flott out there, that they would make that play. To be completely honest.
Yeah, I'm not completely sure either, but we know Moreau can. So that's a veteran play right there. And here the Giants get a good situation where the Bears are backed up in their own territory. And now you see the Giants absolutely load the box right here. You got 3 down linemen, 5 guys on the line of scrimmage, 3 linebackers within the box. So it's tough to run against here, but they're not going to trust Justin Fields to throw the football too much. I feel like Dane Belton does a good job filling right here as EQ St. Brown tries to do one of those wide receiver insert type blocks. And he does a good job pinning Dane Belton to the tackle right there. But the Giants all just rally and fill. Again, the Giants' run defense in this game, they were playing as a team. And who is that leading the way right there? That is Dexter Lawrence again. That's not Mustipher at 62. And watch how Dexter Lawrence, he just has a knack for finding the football in these situations.
In the run game, he's so good in the run game. It's crazy.
And that sets up 2nd down. I believe this is also a running play. Justin Ellis does a really good job slowing down Khalil Herbert here.
Yeah.
I think if I'm looking at 67's leverage, he expects Tevin Jenkins to take over this reach block as well. But instead, they're focused on Dexter Lawrence. But you could see how 75 thinks he's taken Dexter Lawrence. Right. 76 and 75 are both on him. And I think it was just probably an offensive line miscommunication facilitated by the fact that they have not been able to figure out how to block 97 the entire game.
Yeah, exactly. Let's Ellis go free, which is nice.
Exactly. And let's Ellis get some stats right there. And here, I believe, is another one of the cross dog blitzes right
cross
here.
Dog again.
And this 3rd and 3 ends up going incomplete. And you can see the same thing. Dexter Lawrence is going to flow outside. Azeez Ojulari is going to drop in the coverage.
It's crazy, man. Just imagine that. Like, imagine being a coach and seeing the center make the same mistake twice on the exact same blitz.
I know. It's crazy to think about.
That's why Clay Harbor was killing him on Twitter.
Clay Harbor. I remember Clay Harbor, man. He played for the Bears and he played for the Jags, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I think he was on the Bills too for a little bit, maybe.
He's like an H-back / tight end, dude.
Yeah, but I still love this play call by the New York Giants. Just there's so many elements within this play call to help the Giants get this sack or at least get this pressure. All right, Dan, before we get to the superlatives, I want to rewind a little bit to the drive that we skipped, just the 3 plays before the end of the first half. And I think it's important to go over because the New York Giants end up running that cross dog blitz, the double A gap twist, whatever you want to call it, with the contain from Dexter Lawrence and the spy from Azeez Ojulari. And it ends up getting a sack near the line of scrimmage by Dexter Lawrence, as you'll see right here. So this is the play working to perfection when the first contingency does not work, because Mustipher actually pays attention here. As you can see, Mustipher ends up picking up Tay Crowder right there. Khalil Herbert makes contact with Micah Mcfadden. Then you have 2 pressuring defenders on the edge to Justin Fields' left. So as Wink Martindale designed, Justin Fields is going to do what? He's going to roll to his right. Now you have Dexter Lawrence boxing him back inside where Azeez Ojulari is. And then Dexter Lawrence ends up getting that sack. This is the exact design that Wink Martindale thought up in his head. If you don't sack Justin Fields with the 2 linebackers, or if you don't force a throwaway, flush him to his right and have Dexter Lawrence and Azeez Ojulari waiting for him. And I just love the fact that it actually wored.
And Dexter Lawrence cuts him back, forcing him back inside too. Just perfectly executed by everyone on that play.
Yeah, it's great game plan overall. I do think that it's helped out again by the fact that it is Justin Fields, Bears, all that stuff. We said it like 900 times at this point, but still, you got to execute the way you execute. And I feel like the Giants just did a really good job. And look at us, man. We're smiling. We didn't smile last year.
There was no smiling on these podcasts when I was watching Jason Garrett's film.
Which I will say though, did you see the movie Smile yet?
No, I see you keep referencing that. What the hell?
Did I?
Like a TV, you reference it on something else.
Oh,
Like
I did.
maybe,
I did. You're right.
yeah.
I did. Yeah, it was a little creepy, a little
Oh, you
eerie.
watched that movie?
Yeah, I went to the movie theater,
Wow.
like something I never do, and I ended up
That
checking
feels
it
like
out.
a Dina movie. I feel like she's a fan of that type of stuff.
Yeah, you don't. Obviously, I'm not going to be like, hey, I want to go to a
Yeah.
movie. I have to get kind of dragged there. But
Movies, maybe. But I'm just saying horror. I feel like horrors are genre.
she does like horror movies. Yeah.
I'm not into horror. That's one of my takes. I don't like horror, man. I don't want to be scared. I hate the gore. You know what? I don't mind horror as much as I hate torture, like Hostel, like those types of movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you like
torture.
Saw and stuff like that.
No, I don't like that shit at all.
Really, not Saw?
No, I'm saying, well, Saw is like cool. It's smart. The first one's like smart and really interesting and has good twists.
Oh, yeah.
But like, and that's fine. There's not that much torture in that one. But as the Saws went on, there was like more torture as it went on. Like, there's the one movie, The Human Centipede, which is like a disgrace to humanity and should have never been created. Do you know that movie?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Human Centipede is the South Park episode based on.
Yeah, they did one on South Park. Like those types of movies, I just will never put my eyes on. Like I heard about that movie and I'm like, what a disgrace to humanity that this was allowed to be produced and distributed to probably like 13-year-olds watching that and being scarred by it for the rest of their lives. But anyway, let's get back to football here and let's talk about the unheralded player on the defensive side of the ball.
Nick Williams for me. I feel like Nick Williams had a great game, specifically on, I think it was the third or fourth drive where he came up with 3 really big plays. I think there are several players that we can name here, and you have the pick of anybody else other than Nick Williams right now because I had the first selection, and I do think he played a fantastic game in the stead of Leonard Williams.
There's a lot of players to pick from, like you said. You know, I got 2 that come to mind. I'm going to go with Fabian Moreau, though. I'm going to go with Moreau on this one. Like you said, that one heady play was great. He wasn't really tested much, which is fine. And when he was, he did a really good job. He had 2 PBUs. That's tough to have in a game where they're not throwing the football. And both of them came on huge plays. So I'll go with Moreau. How about your – oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Moreau ended up playing 49 snaps. That's not really a surprise. Nick Williams ended up playing 35 snaps with Justin Ellis playing 33. And I know Leonard Williams isn't there, but that is also just a product of the fact that the Giants were like, we don't respect the passing game. Who do they have at receiver? Don't care. We're going to shut down whoever the running back is with these big bodies in the middle of the field, like everyone just saw on the film, if you're checking it out on YouTube. And then we're also going to use guys like Tomon Fox. One thing that was notable, I should say, is O'Shane Ximenez only played 13 snaps in this game.
Weird.
A little bit weird for somebody who I felt like actually played well as a run defender. We'll see if that continues or if he had something bugging him. I'm not really sure. So I'll be paying attention to that in the London game.
It is interesting, too, because Tomon Fox got snaps. That's what makes that even more interesting to me. But
I'll say Tomon Fox, I feel like, is more physical.
Is it Tomon or Tomon?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I just think of the Lion King though. Every time
I just think of I'm just thinking of the Game of Thrones Tomon.
Ah, okay, yeah. Of course you do. Of course I have to see House of Dragon. The last episode, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, yeah, it's moving. It's again, this is a big prologue, but eventually, once they get to the Civil War, it's going to be sick. But anyway, highest effort player on film to you. I like this one. This is one of my favorite superlatives. We didn't do this last year, but I think it's a fun one.
Yes, I'm going to go with Kayvon Thibodeau.
Okay.
Kayvon Thibodeau falls on the football. Huge effort play, smart play. Kayvon Thibodeau flushed. It's funny to use toilet terms in terms of football, but flushed Justin Fields out of the pocket twice. And I feel like he was kind of all over the place when he needed to be. So I'm going to go with Kayvon.
I'll go with Dexter Lawrence in this one. Again, when you play 94% of the snaps as a 300-plus pound person, and yet you're still putting together insane reps like the one we showed in the fourth quarter where he just immediately beats his guy. And again, it is Mustafa. I want to Christopher. If you keep thinking of like Sopranos when I say Mustafa. Yeah, Christopher, you sat on the dog. You killed the dog, Christopher. But anyway, but like it was Mustafa. But dude, to play with that kind of effort level in the fourth quarter after they ask you to play almost every snap as a 300-plus pounder, which never happens in football, which I am still like in some ways surprised about. It's him. There's a lot of great options though. You can go Thibodeau. You think you can go Jihad Ward. I think you can go Tay Crowder. There's so many. I think you can go Belton, like potentially Belton and McKinney. Like those guys were all over the place. So
yeah, I'm trying to use one per, and most valuable player for me is going to be Dexter Lawrence. So we'll just kind of get ahead of that.
I see what you're saying. You're not letting people win too.
Like when there's a lot of options, I will, But like, if there's never any options, which is something that
happened to us
we've
last year more often.
experienced a lot in the last couple of years. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's definitely one of those systems that isn't, written in stone.
Oh no, there's no math behind this system or science. It's all feel, baby. All right, best player overall then.
Yeah, the MVP best player for me would be Dexter Lawrence.
Me too. Lawrence is the best player.
So if that is yours, I do want to add a little bit of a 1A, 1B situation, because somebody we've been hard on this podcast, rightfully so, deserves praise, and that's Tay Crowder. He played very well, and he could have easily have won that if it wasn't for Dexter Lawrence playing out of his mind too.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there were still a few bad reps by Crowder, which I don't feel like there were as many from Lawrence. But like you said, we're talking apples. Like, he was still one of the best players in the field that game, which we haven't said often about Crowder. So that's really good to hear, and it's really good to see. How about the best play, your favorite play call from Wink Martindale?
It's the cross dog, double A gap twist. You called it, I think, 3 times in the game. You got 2 sacks off of it and a pressure on a 3rd and 3 that forced a punt.
Pretty sick.
And that center just, I don't even think we have to say his name. Everyone who's listening knows his name at this point. Like, he couldn't figure it out. And even when he did, it worked to perfection of what Wink Martindale wanted Justin Fields to do. Played right into the Giants' hands.
So you'll have to help me with this one, because I don't know the exact call, and I'm just going to do it off memory. For me, it was when they had the unbalanced look on the left side of the line of scrimmage, and after the snap, the Bears had 3 offensive linemen, basically, or 3 pass protectors. One was a tight end, I think, looking at around with accounting for 1 Giants defender. This might have been one of the cross dog blitzes. I can't really fully remember it. But as I looked into the coverage, I put this one on Twitter, so maybe this is on me for not having this teed up. But as I looked at it from both views, from the end zone angle, from the sideline view, there is nowhere to go with the football. The coverage is sticky there, man coverage, and there's just immediate pressure. Anytime you can get that, I feel like I've seen that more with Wink Martindale this year than I've seen it since we started doing this podcast. Everyone locked up in coverage, and yet immediate pressure on the quarterback. How is it even possible? I don't know.
You just need the guys on the back end to cover. And I think, was Aaron Robinson in on that play?
Robinson was in on that one, yeah. So I don't remember the exact.
He looked sticky, man, until he got hurt. Now, it was a lot of
sucks. I'm pissed we lost Robinson. I know everyone's gonna be like, what do you care? He hasn't shown anything, but he kind of has. And limited tape, he really has. So it sucks. But hopefully it's not a season ender. I don't know if it's definitely a season ender.
Well, no, I mean,
we get no information on these injuries from this staff. It's like, just like, oh, he's either day to day or he's on IR. God bless. Do your best. Oh, is that a high ankle sprain? I'm not saying it's a high ankle sprain, so you can't say that because I didn't confirm. So, all right, I don't know what it is then. So who knows what that knee injury is?
I got dead relatives who are day to day, according to Brian Dable right now.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's wrap it up with these two. Let's start here with the pass rush grade, 1 to 10 scale.
Pass rush grade, again, not a lot of pass rushing traditional type of reps, so I'm just going to go off the overall pressure. Got to go with a strong, I think, 8.5 right there. I mean, Justin Fields was protected, or I mean, that's one way you could look at it. You could say it's hindering his upside, but it's also protecting him from dropping back because the offensive coordinator and all the other issues they have, they don't really maybe fully trust him or don't want him to be dropping back as much. But despite that, he was still sacked 6 times. I mean, this could be like a 9.5, to be honest. I'm just going to go with a nice solid 8.9. I have to bump it up from what I initially said because it was pretty damn impressive.
I'll go 9.4 here. I think Dexter Lawrence alone bumps this one up. He's like a 9.9. He had one of the best he had his best pass rushing game of his career. Ojulari really stood out to me as well as the second best pass rusher in this game. A couple great reps from Thibodeau. And just, as you said, just great scheme pressures too by the Giants. So overall, they just did everything you could pretty much want for the few limited, like you said, reps they had. There wasn't many pass attempts by the Justin Fields, but it's about to change. Like this shit ain't standing. Like we're about to face Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson. So things are going to look different, but let's enjoy it while we can. How about a run defense grade? This one's interesting. A run defense grade 1 to 10.
Go with a strong 8.7, man. Same ballpark as the pass rush. And they were playing like a team, Dan. They were playing with continuity. They were having their buddies' backs. There were not a lot of Blue Falcons here. So I loved it. Do you know what Blue Falcon is?
Nah, what is it?
It's a buddy effort.
What? I know
so
what you're
buddy,
saying.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't even know. I still don't really
it's
get
a military term for somebody who doesn't have your back for a variety of different ways.
From that standpoint. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
I just listening to some of the stories you've told me about your time in the military, the military. I said that right. Yeah. One time I remember I used to call it the Army by mistake. That was devastating. Nick was so offended every time. He wouldn't express it. He'd just kind of say like things to me like, "Hey, dude, try not to mention it as the Army. It's not the fucking Army." But like I could see the look in his eyes. He was just like disgusted that I would ever say Army for.
That's literally like me going like, "Oh, you host a Jets podcast."
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Yeah, but it's not even because like the Jets and Giants are both like NFL football teams. That there's a difference, I know, in your mind. You don't have to admit it right now. You don't want to offend Army people, but like you feel like there's definitely the Marines definitely feel. I feel like the Marines view themselves a little higher than the Army people. I'm just gonna be honest. You don't have to respond to that. Don't implicate yourself. I'm just gonna say from the Marines I've met in my life, and you're not the first Marine I've been friends with. They definitely view themselves in a higher plane than the Army. Just saying. All right. Anyway, let's go with my grade, and I'll go with a 9-1 for the run defense. Look, no big runs really for this Bears offense, except for Justin Fields. Maybe one that I remember, the 14-yarder by Herbert. Like that was just like Crowder missed his gap, whatever. Like two maybe mistakes by the Giants run defense, but overall, rally to the ball every time. Play your gaps. Play disciplined. Play this game like you need to stop the run. And like you said, play with a chip on your shoulder after Dallas put it to you in the run game. So 2 plus grades for me. Awesome game for the defense too. They freaking dominated, and it was great to see.
Absolutely loved it, man. It was a joy. And I think this Packers game, it's going to be interesting, man. We have to pay attention to what's going on every day at Giants camp because legit, it could be a situation where the Giants are entering this game without Daniel Jones or Tyrod Taylor. Like
that would suck so bad.
There's a non-zero chance of it. Now, there's a possibility that one or two of them could be back. If it is Daniel Jones, how mobile is he, and what does that do to the offense? That's a serious question. So I guess
Jones isn't mobile, I 100% want them to go with Tyrod Taylor.
I agree. And that's not a knock on Jones, but you need, and we've said this for years.
It's a knock on Jones, to be honest. Part of his game is mobility, straight up.
Well, I mean, it's a knock from that sense, but it's just one of those things that, like, just look at what this coaching staff has done through 4 games.
Right.
The way they're moving the football is by taking advantage of Jones's athletic ability. If he doesn't have said athletic ability, then how are you going to move the football?
Yeah, knock is not the right word. It's a reality check on where we're at as an offense right now. We're an offense that relies on mobility from the quarterback position. So if we can't get that from Jones, let's get it from Tyrod. If he's cleared, that's the problem too. He may not be cleared from the concussion protocol. I got to be honest with you, this Tua thing, I don't want to say this in any kind of light way, but like it's definitely going to impact his availability, his possibility to play. Anyone who doesn't believe that, like if we look at this thing in 2.5 years, the NFL is going to be treating concussions differently in 2.5 years than they are this week. Let's just call it like it is. This is how everything goes in life with not recency bias, but just how things are treated in the moment. And in the moment, especially right now, it's a bad look for the NFL.
It's a terrible look, especially it being on a primetime game.
Yes.
Amazon Prime. The big thing is Amazon Prime's huge thing. And then this is a primetime game when everyone saw him wobble in another big game, not a primetime game, against Buffalo, a very important and emotional win for the Dolphins. So you're 100% right. It's like, remember the Ryan Shazier hit, the one that almost paralyzed him? That was also on a primetime game, if I'm not mistaken, right? The Antonio Brown hit by Vontaze Burfict. That was a playoff game, I think. So a lot of these big hits, man, and there's just a lot of awareness around the head injuries that are a byproduct of playing a very violent game like football. So you might be right, dude.
We'll see what happens, though. If worst case to worst, they're going with Davis Webb, and it would be – I'm not going to say it's going to give us the best chance to win, but it's going to at least be fun to watch a full game of Davis Webb film because we're finally going to get, like, what did Ben McAdoo see in this dude that made him want to invest a 3rd-round pick? What did Jerry Reese see in this dude? What did the Giants scout – you finally gets his opportunity. I don't want that to happen. I think the Giants have a much better chance to win with Jones or even a hobbled Jones or Taylor. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the whole hobbled Jones thing, though, like I don't know. I'm not really 100% sure if it's even smart to put him out there if that thing's not fully healed.
Let him get healthy.
Yeah, exactly. Let him get healthy. And you have 3 games really that are really tough coming up. Because let's not write off Jacksonville.
I know.
Jacksonville, you got to go to Florida. It's hot. It's humid down there.
Jacksonville. If you watch any, I want to look at like Lori, who we've had on the podcast before. Lori Fitzpatrick, shout out. She does good film work. I think a lot of it is Jaguar stuff, or she used to be more Jaguars related. But I'm really curious. And I don't know exactly that scheme, but they've turned that defense around so freaking fast, man. Like that defense was bottom barrel last year, and they lost Miles Jack. And I know they made big investments like Trayvon Walker, and they traded back up for the kid from Utah, the linebacker who's played unreal, Devin Lloyd. But and then they got the Wyoming kid who we like too at linebacker. What's his name?
Chad Muma.
I don't know if he's even playing right now, but I'm sure he is, because that defense has turned it around immediately. So I think that's people are going to be surprised when the Giants play the Jags this year that their defense is actually pretty good.
I think they also signed, and this is somebody I'm bringing up twice in a month, but Foley Fatukasi, who ended up leaving, I think, last game with an injury. But that's one of the things, though. What did everyone do to Jacksonville? They ran the football on them. They're in a division like the AFC South with Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor. They would get gashed all the time. So you need linebackers who can defend the run. You need two-way linebackers, really. And then you need big defensive linemen, not the Taven Bryans of the world that they drafted. You need guys like Foley Fatukasi to eat up the center of the offensive line while you have Josh Allen and freaking Trayvon Walker on the edges. I mean, they're a pretty interesting team, to say the least.
They are, yeah. And so we'll see him in a couple weeks. But anyway, that's the Big Blue Banter. New York Giants film breakdown on the defense side of the ball for the Giants week 4 win over the Bears. Keep it locked and loaded on the Big Blue Banter podcast. If you're listening now, you know what we ask of you. The only thing we'll ever ask of you, please rate, review, subscribe, and make sure you download every episode, especially now. If your objective is to watch these instead of listen, that's fine. But just please make sure you download as well on the podcast form. Otherwise, if you're just listening and you want to watch us break down these plays as we talk them through, which in my mind is probably a better way to consume them, but I don't know. It's your decision. Head over to the Big Blue Banter YouTube page. You can just go to YouTube, anywhere you get it on your TV, if you have an app that does it, or on your phone, whatever it is, and type in Big Blue Banter. You'll see our logo. You click that, and you'll see our offensive film breakdown from earlier this week, and then this one on defense. And more stuff will be coming to that page as well. But we need your help to build it, because we're literally doing it from scratch. So thank you to everyone who has helped already or who plans to help in the future. We love you. You guys are the best. You guys make this thing possible. So have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.